Good morning and welcome to the AM show. My name is Sweetie Abochi.
And my name is Benjamin Akakpo. Now let's get into the salient issues this morning. We'll start with the news shortly, followed by the news review. Our two guests, Dr. Kwame Asante is a political scientist, also head of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana, and Dr. Jabir Mohammed. He's a senior lecturer at University of Ghana Business School. Both of them will join us for that belt. And after which we'll serve you sports with Muftal Nabila Abdullah. And then we segue into our big stories.
And for our big stories, participants of the Nat'l Economic Dialogue urge governments to prioritize efforts to restore macroeconomic stability and regain confidence in the economy. This morning, we put the spotlight on the banking sector and how it found expression at the economic discourse for a sector weighed down by non-performing loans and liquidity challenges and many more. Because the Nat'l Economic Dialogue team prepares to submit its full report to President Mahama for consideration and implementation. And the question we're asking is, what does the future hold for Ghana's banking sector as the government embarks on their reset agenda?
Well, we have that on the chopping board. You do want to stick and stay with us because we'll be cutting incisively into the salient matters. But stick and stay with us. Up next, we serve you the news.
On the AM show, let's get right into the details. And Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagbin has vowed to take swift action against an unidentified Member of Parliament who referred to Korle Klottey Member of Parliament Nat'l Economic Rawlings as the daughter of a murderer. The remarks have sparked public outrage despite the identity of the MP remaining unknown. And addressing the issue after receiving a petition from traditional leaders, Mr. Bagbin strongly condemned the comments and assured that the culprit will be exposed.
Such conduct is dishonorable, and I strongly condemn it as a behavior unbefitting of a member of parliament. Such a member, when found guilty of defamation or in contempt of parliament or in breach of parliamentary privilege, would be liable to be reprimanded or by resolution suspended from the service of parliament for a period not exceeding 9 months, or expelled from parliament altogether. Let me be clear. Parliament is a place for constructive debate, guided by principles of mutual respect and integrity.
Speaker Alban Bagbin has given the MP in question 1 week to own up or face severe consequences.
I extend my deepest apologies to Honorable Dr. Nat'l Economic Rawlings, Member of Parliament for Klottey Korle, Her Excellency Nana Konadu Economic Rawlings, the former First Lady of Ghana and widow of our late illustrious President, the family, the chiefs, and all the good people of Anglo Duko and Anglo land. No one serving their country should have to endure such indignity. Consequently, a formal investigation has been initiated to determine the identity of the member who made the comment. Subsequent to which, in line with Standing Orders 218 and 219, the Committee of Privileges and Immunities and Ethics and Standards shall be called upon to consider the referral and report to the House. The spirit of honor, accountability, and decorum, I advise the member responsible for the remark to within a week choose the path of honesty, mea culpa, and opt for a plea bargain. Taking this step would demonstrate good faith and respect for parliamentary dignity rather than awaiting the outcome of the ongoing investigation, which will ultimately uncover the member who made the statement.
Meanwhile, Majority Leader Mahama Yariga has indicated his side will bring to bear the full force of Parliament on the MP who made the comments when his identity becomes public.
And I also urge whoever it is to own up as directed by the Speaker. And I want to assure this House that when we ultimately establish the identity of that person, the full weight of this side of the House will stand firmly behind the Privileges Committee when they seek to exact the highest penalty of this House.
Minority Chief Whip Frank Anodompre has been raising his own issues on the matter.
I'm hoping we can bring this matter to a close, but I'm taken aback that mine has taken close to 3 weeks. The Speaker had assured that we will engage the two of us. I am reliably informed the lady was invited. I was not invited. Speaker, I'm just bringing this to your attention. But I will leave the decision in your bosom. And you are experienced and clothed with the powers to guide this House in all matters. So I'll just bring this to your notice and hoping that we can bring finality to it.
In other stories, fear gripped students of Buankachi DA Primary and Junior High School after gunshots were heard near their school in a heated land dispute. A long-standing conflict between two rival chiefs escalated when one faction allegedly deployed land guards, forcing the school to shut down temporarily. Emmanuel Bright-Kweku has more.
On Thursday, February 27, 2025, authorities at the Bokanche Kindergarten, Primary and Junior High School temporarily closed down the school after gunshots were fired close to their premises. The violent attack between two factions laying claim to a parcel of land 2 blocks away from the school caused fear and panic among students and staff. School authorities and community leaders justified the temporary closure, citing the frequent sporadic gunfire sometimes perforated the school's roofs. Richard Kwabna Boateng is the unit committee vice chairman for the area. There is a parcel of land that is 2 blocks away from here. On Thursday, the teachers and students heard gunshots and quickly called me in. We understand one of the local chiefs had ordered land guards to ward off any attempts by another group on laying claim to the place. They fired shots preventing anyone, and according to the teachers, the guns perforated the roof. We agreed to let everyone stay away from school. According to leaders at the community, a court injunction has been secured, barring all parties from accessing the disputed land until an amicable solution. On Monday, the local leaders met and called the district police commander, who assured a court injunction had been secured to prevent the two groups from laying ownership to the land until a compromise was reached. The school has, however, resumed amidst fears as community members call for immediate resolution to the impasse. Indeed, what the chiefs are doing has put fear in the school children and teachers. We have, however, asked the students to come to school, assuring their parents of heightened security measures. For Joy News, my name is Emmanuel Bright-Kweku.
Let's do some other stories. Coastal erosion has wreaked havoc in the Volta region, displacing families and leaving many with no choice but to sleep by the roadside or take refuge in unsafe locations, including premix fuel storage facilities. Now, a housing project intended to provide relief for affected residents remains abandoned, deteriorating with time. And our correspondent, Ivy Setoji, reports from Agaveji.
The once vibrant communities along Ghana's southern coast, Agaveji, Salakope, and Amuchinu, are now scenes of despair. The raging sea has swallowed homes, businesses, and even graveyards, leaving hundreds without shelter. With no alternative, many families now sleep by the roadside, exposed to harsh weather conditions, while some have resorted to staying at a premise-filled facility.
We're almost 4 or 5 days today because of the spoiling of the sea. That's where we are all sleeping here. Our places, our houses, all are destroyed by the sea. So we are here.
So you are sleeping here with your family outside?
Yes.
So this is what you've been doing for some time now?
Yes, almost 4 or 5 days today.
Years ago, a housing project was initiated to resettle displaced residents, but today it stands abandoned, a painful reminder of unfulfilled promises.
Those that have been destroyed by the sea have no place to stay. We were aware, or they let us know, that there are some housing units for us over here where they found. The immediate left MC, that's Honorable Master Lugudo, came to us in our community over here, Salakope, let us know that 105 rooms have to be built. That is the money being released to him. Not yet to release, but released to him. But as it stands now, only 3 is roof, not even complete for people to stay inside.
Despite visits from government officials and statements from members of parliament, no concrete action has been taken to provide immediate relief. The people of Agaveji, Salakope, and Amochinu are not just statistics. They are families, children, and the elderly, abandoned in their time of need. If swift action is not taken, more lives will be lost.
They should find some engineer to come and throw the sea sand to the outside of the land. There is no deep for the sea because it's a swallow place. Because when the Tama Harbor was built, the stone they are put into the water, the same water find a place. So if there is any solution, the sea difference is not necessary. They should trade the sea sand to the outside of the land, so there will be a deep. If the sea difference they are doing it, there is no deep in the sea. You can do everything, but you can succeed.
Ivy Satoji, Joy News, Agaveji.
Let's go to the Upper West region now, because the Upper West Regional Focal Person for Affirmative Action, Janet Kman, has criticized the exclusion of women from the list of 33 shortlisted candidates for appointment, stating that it violates the Affirmative Action Act 1121 of 2024. The Upper West Regional Vetting Committee of the National Democratic Congress had shortlisted 33 candidates out of the 156 applicants for the positions of municipal and district chief executives in the region for consideration by President John Dramani Mahama. Madam Janet Kman therefore called on the president to ensure the appointment of women to MMDC positions in the Upper West region. What's done? There's more in this report.
The Deba was organized by the Queen Mother of Duong in collaboration with the Africa Center for Human Rights and Sustainable Development, with funding support from the Netherlands EOF. It is aimed to promote equal rights for women and girls in Duong through advocacy for affirmative action, inclusiveness, and sustainable livelihoods for women and girls. Speaking on the topic, affirmative action law, the regional affirmative action focal person, Janet Kman, outlined that the president shall ensure the progressive achievement of gender equality targets in its appointment.
The government shall set progressive targets for the achievement of the gender equity in accordance with international conventions and regional agreements to which Ghana is a signatory, and the purpose of appointments to positions of decision-making at all levels in the public sector. The government shall take appropriate measures in the public and private sector to ensure the full integration of women into the mainstream of all spheres of development.
Madam Janet Bang added that the absence of women among the 33 shortlisted candidates for appointments violates the Affirmative Action Act. She therefore joined the tall list of organizations and individuals that has criticized the deliberate exclusion of female applicants from the list of shortlisted MDCEs in the region.
This year's District Assembly elections for the position of DCs and MCs, no woman has been considered, which has gone against the Affirmative Action Act of 2024.
Going forward, I want to see our women and girls coming out to campaign for assembled women positions, including the Union Committee members' positions.
The regional coordinator for the Africa Center for Human Rights and Sustainable Development, David Ganya, gave an overview of the project.
We are embarking on a program we called Economic Empowerment of Women and Girls and Leadership. And we are going to this program for 12 months, just within a year. And today we are here educating women on the recent law that the Ghana Parliament has passed on the affirmative action law. And we are here to educate our mothers and then the women in this community to know the importance of the woman and in their leadership role.
Reporting for J News, Rafiq Salam, Duong.
In other stories, the Anopa project, in collaboration with the Rhythm Foundation, is addressing mobility and other challenges at Abom Special School and the Ghana National Inclusive Basic School in Cape Coast. The Anopa project, a sports development initiative, focuses on building inclusive societies through sports and education. In an interview, the executive director of the Anopa project, Ernest Appiah, emphasized that sports is a powerful tool for helping differently abled students build confidence and develop socially. He expressed hope that the project supports will contribute to achieving this goal. Abigail Nkrumah Isel has more in this report.
There is an Akan adage that says when you help your neighbor achieve his goals, you also achieve yours. With this in mind, the Anopa project, which harnesses the power of sports to promote the inclusion of differently abled children, is lending a helping hand to the Abom Special School and the Ghana National Basic Inclusive School in Cape Coast to advance its agenda of enhancing the development of these vulnerable children. The executive director of the Anopa project, Ernest Appiah, believes solving the challenges in these schools will greatly improve attendance and academic excellence.
A very big thank you to the Rhythm Foundation for giving us this opportunity in terms of sponsorship and support to help these differently abled societies in terms of education. Through the support of Rhythm Foundation, we've been able to construct a walkway for them, which is making school attendance quite accessible to these students. We are also doing them a favor, or we are helping them in terms of sporting activities. It's an inclusive school, so we have the sighted and then the blind. And before we came with our intervention, what I realized was that you see only the sighted walking alone and the blind walking alone. But through our sporting activities, you realize that there is some sort of a measure because they are now friends on the field. So when they come back to the classroom, they are still friends, and that inclusion is very important in terms of their development as kids.
The Rhythm Foundation believes collaborating causes an increase in resources that eases aid given. As a senior project executive of the foundation, Pobana Herosan sheds more light on the partnership with the Anopa project.
So we are in the first year of the project, and even in the first year, around 6 months, we can see the progress that's happening. So we have 3 things that we are doing. We are focusing on the vocational training, and then we also have sports, and we're also focusing on infrastructure. So it is like a holistic approach, and there has been a progress. That means when, as you can see, there was no pathway, and now you can see the progress. So that is impressing for us. There's so much of things that's happening. Parents there who do not believe that the child can do something, please come and see the school. there are a lot of children you can see progress and see them happy. I think that will motivate them to come to the school.
The Cape Coast Metro Director of Education, Phyllis Asante, is happy the country is currently investing in differently abled children.
The developed nations, they can see the potentials in these differently abled students, and they put much into it. That's why they are developing. But now, I thank God we are learning, and we are also trying to bring them on board. Ghana cannot be complete. Education cannot be complete without them. So we really appreciate it. And I believe in Anopa. I believe in Reading Foundation. Wherever I stand, I'll mention your name.
Mobility was a great challenge, says Benedict Abua, a student of the Ghana National Inclusive Basic School, as she expresses gratitude to the project and the foundation.
At first, we don't want to come to school, but now, Anapa Project and Reading Foundation has constructed the road for us. So now we feel happy every day when coming to school. So we thank Anapa Project and Reading Foundation for constructing the road for us.
From Cape Coast, this is Abigail Nkoma Esel's report for Joy News.
The fight against illegal mining in the central region is gaining momentum as the Central Regional Minister Ekopenyi Eduamochiri introduces a new approach to tackling the menace. Leading the Central Regional Security Council on a visit to some parts of the Asin Asamang, a community described as a Galamsey hub within the Asin Fosu municipality, the minister reaffirmed his commitment to combating illegal mining through alternative livelihood support and stakeholder engagement rather than relying on armed security forces. Here's more.
While leading the Central Regional Security Council on a visit to Asin Asamang, a community described as a Galamsey hub in the Asin Fosu municipality of the Central Region, the Central Regional Minister, Ekopenyi Eduamochiri, stated that the Galamsey menace is beyond a criminal situation and believes proper engagements involving stakeholders as well as alternative livelihood supports can help curb the problem.
When the helicopter basa with the back and son a day jampo, the helicopter what would they see market to groom her? Mama, young Gassa, young Bomo Bana, the Miscan, young Fasuma, in the Bibi back, Pro Obama there. There, Yamia, Madame, Mama, pay Mama, or teach us to move the Musumia. Me and I'm seeing Manuahe. On my and another Wabba Galamsey Apple, yet it's development that we send more development there. Was that someone was Shama or how I got down? It's going to have so baby, what was it or the two at the back? And I'm going to baby in share, quite many put them to pay. And to buy a young say a jack, nay, and tackle, young son, in fear bassa, and I'm going to have some papa. Apart from Yaro Babano and some of Baba Yadun, check, and Sassana ye Jugun, quite not ye Jugun. Nankayana nanum soon bit small. Let's identify tomorrow. When I was saying, that over striking, I try about Papa. But be I say, or send a book would be a Sibiaco to Sukasibi. Them sus not going. And what is who assassin my one, what the assassin you could so Yashi Wina. Now, Lukunkum Yasi, the Mizamina. Now what's no your side? And now, ye would the year Tashada, but Robin. Them that is a man, Nanano, Mam, Fab Monet, sit for Mam, one by a man, your foot. Now we might be a Yaba campaign, saying, ya, Nanano, a bit of clean.
Some opinion leaders also shared their contributions to the fight.
Now, the all comes here and yea, young cook, and they took my to Samra. Never saw I'm going to kill Musumbo. I'm not going to win here. To see a young student. Then you be more Bamuhuni. I don't think Master Mose, Mumrabi, and I'm a customer of Montino be NTB. Now more Basua. Some one woman, man, 7 miles ancient. I'll with him. Oh, by he, Okoya Masaba. There's a company number news you ain't near you.
The assembly member of Asin Asamang, Gregory Ankumajichi, had these suggestions to share.
Maybe a chum. Now you're the Vanguard Operation Hot, and they are the Pamo a month for Omuba, no moko. Acha, maybe 1 week, 2 weeks, no moko. Omoko and Ejumana Saya de Astati. Think I must say, and Kaya was small scale mining. Yet a task force. And think Kebit me a share task force in the Mokina, not task force in the Momono, a municipality no. Say they are Saint Central, Yate task force. Near they share a Saint Central in Sue Wahana. If he said no moment neither, a boy a cat cost. As say, you better suggest for a dear free crime, and now helicopter, a dear Maba, Omobanso Mundigina, ebi acha 3 days na omko na adwuma na sa yede e koso na oman no so na yede e na eboka nti se etumi nya task force no de a atin se no mo betumi aboaye ama adwuma de na etumi ayede afa na ntoma pa yede afira.
From Asin Isaman, Abigail Nkrumah report for Joy News.
Business Update comes up next with Benjamin Akakpo.
Thank you for staying with us for our business updates. We'll start with the currency market for this morning. Into the stories we go now, and Finance Minister Dr. Cassiel Ato-Forson has given the firm assurance that the government will work on recommendations from the National Economic Dialogue. Policymakers, private sector, academia, among other key stakeholders of the economy converged at the two-day National Economic Dialogue to proffer key recommendations on resetting Ghana's economy. Speaking on a high-panel discussion, Dr. Ato-Forson maintained that government was committed to resetting the economy.
What I can say is most striking to me, particularly sitting there quietly, is the interconnectedness between the macro group to the private sector, to infrastructure, to all the other sectors, even to the governance and the corruption subsector, the need for us to do major reforms. And so the solution is there. We know the problems. We know what we have to do to resolve the problems. Let's start the implementation. Wow. And so I will wait for the communique. Then so together, I can use the communique as my Bible going into the preparation of the budget and to make recommendations to Cabinet for adoption and approval. Wonderful. For us to input in. Thank you very much.
In our second story, the Economist Intelligence Unit has warned Ghana must prioritize sustainable financing to avoid a debt trap. This, according to the EIU, could lead to an activity that will require a delicate balance between differing solutions and requirements. There's more in this report.
The Economist Intelligence Unit, Africa Economic Outlook 2025, reports that the worst of the region's sovereign debt pressures appear to be over, but external debt servicing burdens remain high. This presents a critical challenge for Ghana, like many African countries, which must find alternative funding solutions to avoid excessive reliance on foreign loans. Ghana is one of the many African nations grappling with macroeconomic stability challenges, with nearly half of the continent countries still under the IMF programs in 2025. Fiscal discipline and sustainable financing have become even more critical. High external servicing costs continue to strain national budgets, making it imperative for Ghana to explore internal financing mechanisms. The EIU reports that Africa will be home to most of the world's fastest growing economies in 2025, with increased investment expected in sectors such as renewable energy, ICT, and logistics. This presents a significant opportunity for Ghana. The nation can strategically position itself to benefit from these trends while ensuring infrastructure investment aligned with national development priorities.
It's time now for us to head into our commodities market. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's a wrap for our business update. Handing over back to Sweetie Abochi.
And that's how we end the AM News Bulletin. On the AM show, coming up next is the News Review segment. Our guest joining us, Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, Head Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana, and Dr. Jibril Mohammed, Senior Lecturer, University of Ghana Business School. They'll be joining us shortly. Please stay. In 2 days, Ghana will be celebrating 68 years of independence. Are you excited? How are you preparing for that? Welcome to the News Review segment. I'm Sweetie Abochi, and I'm doing this with Benjamin Akakpo. Our guest joining us via Zoom, Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, Head Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana, and Dr. Jibril Mohammed, Senior Lecturer, University of Ghana Business School. Ben.
Well, gentlemen, a very good morning to you. Thank you for joining the conversation. Dr. Jabir, Dr. Mohammed, actually, I see you there. How are you this morning? Dr. Mohammed, you'll have to unmute for me, please. How are you?
I'm fine. What about you?
Oh, I am well, by God's grace. By God's grace.
Long day yesterday.
Long day indeed. And but here we are. Here we are one more time. And our lecturer, the lecturer of both Dr. Mohammed and yours truly, way back in the day, Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. And good morning to Sweetie and Mohammed and everybody who is watching us.
They say, old soldier, once a soldier, always a soldier. So once a teacher or lecturer, always a lecturer. But gentlemen, very quickly, any quick thoughts on your mind that you'd like to share with us, and then we'll get into the papers. I'll start with you, Dr. Mohammed.
Once again, good morning to you and good morning to all our listeners. Yesterday, I had the opportunity to join the Economic Dialogue series. That was the second day that we have the series. And comprehensively, we were able to touch almost all the sectors of the economy, ranging from macroeconomic stability, debt sustainability, enterprise development, and good governance, and everything. I mean, and I believe that it is a very comprehensive information that is going to transform the fortunes of this country. And I do hope that the president and all the ministers who were part of the panel will be in a better position to be able to implement these policies so that we can get Ghana out of the troubles that we are currently in.
All right. And that's what we're all praying for, hoping for, as we heard all of these members of government. Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, what are your quick thoughts for us this morning?
Yes. I want to look at Independence celebration tomorrow and lessons that we can learn from that. We have celebrated and continue to celebrate independence. But when I look at it critically, we forget about the real battle our people were fighting against. The battle after independence was to fight against economic problems, fight against injustice, and fight against what? Poverty, and the rest of them. Today, we still have all these evils rearing their ugly heads in our society. What does it tell you? It tells us that we have failed as a society and that we have let our people down. Those who fought, who put their lives on this ground to make sure that we survive and all that, we have failed them. So tomorrow, as we celebrate 68 years of independence, I will urge everyone, including those in government, to reflect on the ideals, aspirations of our forefathers who fought and gave us independence, and try to find out whether the things they stood for are what we are soldiering on with them. If not, we should change course and make sure that we build a society can call our own. There is something that Nkrumah left us with, And that is a book that he wrote. After fighting colonialism, he told us that we are going to fight another battle, which is what? Neo-colonialism. And he said that is the last stage of imperialism. Today, all the things Nkrumah said in that book have come to pass. We need to change our ways and take what? A new paradigm shift that will bring honor, glory, and happiness to us, so that we have a society we can call our own.
Thank you very much. It actually reminds me of our collaboration with the CDD and those town hall and citizen engagements for special groups, persons with disability, the aged, women, among others. After governments get our vote, do they come back? Do they listen to us? And of course, that is part of why these dialogues are being held. But hopefully, they end up acting on what we, the hoi polloi, the masses, the people, want. But let's get into the papers now. Sweetie Abochi will usher us right into them.
I must be the only one living in the 4th of March because I thought Independence Day was 2 days away. But yes, it's tomorrow. And the theme is Reflect, Review, and Reset. It's on the back page of the Ghanaian Times newspaper, done beautifully. On the front page, on celebrating 68 years independence, public express hope for better Ghana. Bese Traditional Council honors U.S. Ambassador. Foreign Ministry to deliver Hajj passports in 3 days, according to Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa. eTransact named 2024 FinTech Company of the Year. Let's get into the papers and see what stories we want to get into. So, a Court of Appeal judge is unhappy about the jury system. Togbi Badu cautions against Anyako Lashibi land acquisition. Junta leader Nguema declares bid for presidency. That's an interesting one. Father tries to block daughter's euthanasia in landmark Spanish case. But here in Ghana, 3rd Ghana Police Mosque annual Ramadan lectures begin Saturday. Use private ADR centers to resolve disputes. I want to stay on this story for a bit. The Chief Justice of Ghana, Justice Gertrude Iraba-Isaba Sakito-Kono, has called on Ghanaians to refer disputes to private alternative dispute resolution centers as a first option in attempting to resolve disputes before resorting to the courts if ADR is unsuccessful. Let me add just one more story to that, and I'll come to you, doctors, for your reflection. I will work with MMDCD's Towards Development, that is the Northern Regional Minister, and impact of ethnicity, religion on Ghana's election. It's an editorial. You can pick one for yourself. And there's a story here that says Ghanaians express hope for better Ghana ahead of tomorrow's Indus Day. And Ghanaians from all walks of life have expressed optimism in the future of the country, believing that the 68th independence anniversary will mark the beginning of attainment of the dreams of the founding fathers. Let me start with Dr. Mohammed. Dr. Jibri Mohammed, quick reflections.
Thank you so much. For the issue of the alternative dispute, I think that is proper because, court cases are usually expensive. And it is important that you turn onto some of these alternative disputes so that you can find a solution to your problems amicably before you eventually send the case to the court. Because if the two of you have engaged with yourself independently and you are not able to find a resolution, then that is why you resort to a court to give you the final determination. However, if you haven't been able to solve it within yourself and you go to the court, sometimes it is still difficult for you to find a final resolution to your cases. So I do believe that alternative disputes are quite less expensive and quite easy to engage with yourselves. Even sometimes when there are cases, we take it to the chief palace. And sometimes even those things, especially in the villages, they don't believe in the court system. If you take somebody to court and you don't take your time, you and the person will fight for the rest of your life. So it is prudent that you resort to some of these alternative disputes so that we help to reduce the number of cases that we send to court. The second part has to do with the aspect of the Independence Day. I believe that, as my former lecturer said, Independence Day gives us the opportunity to reflect about our past and see how best we have come and how far we want to go. So I do hope that tomorrow will be a day that we should even start reflecting today. And one of the key elements that we started doing was the Economic Dialogue series. And the key element was that we want to reflect about what has happened in the past and we want to forge ahead into the future. So I do hope and believe that Ghanaians will get out of the troubles that they are in by remembering that the independence of Ghana is meaningless until the total liberation of Africa is attained. So the independence of you is meaningless until you get your economic freedom and until you get your social freedom, until you get the freedom from the people from external aggression. So I do believe that we should take the Independence Day as a very important day and work very hard to be able to overcome our challenges as Ghanaians.
Thank you so much, Doc. And let me go to Dr. Kwame Asante now for your reflections.
Yes, I think I will start with the ADR stuff. And I must say that last year, I took opportunity to study online master's program in alternative dispute resolution. And because I've realized that in recent times, the court is shying away from proper litigation. That takes a whole lot of time. So I took the trouble to go through this after my master's program where I look at conflict and peace studies. I know that the extension is this. We're trying to find that whenever there are issues we need to deal with and it becomes intractable, the ADR provide us with that alternative where you have a third third person neutral to stand as an arbiter dealing with this. The good thing about ADR is that it is not appealable. And so once you end the process where members or the litigant, if you like, will sit down, Jojo, find a solution to their problem, and then give it to the court to stamp its authority on. The matter ends there. So it is the new beginning of a new life. And I will urge a lot of people to take it into consideration when they are looking at subjects that they want to consider for a better life. It's an interesting program. As I went through, I have not regretted. In fact, it is important to state that this Saturday, the Institute of Paralegal Training and Leadership Studies is inviting me as a guest speaker to speak on the theme. They are graduating a number of students, and they are. I'm speaking on the theme ADR, a path to a more just and peaceful world. So I'm going to share my perspective on the issues, and then the graduates also urge them as they move into the world of work. So all in all, ADR is a big subject that now you have lawyers who are in there, judges who are in there, and then it is important. I will move on to ethnicity and Ghanaian politics. Right. I am happy with what we are seeing, and it flows from the NPP research in Ashanti region, where before the election, people were saying that, yes, ethnicity play important role, religion and all that. And I am very happy. The results, the report that was churned out, tells it all, that ethnicity have very little or no role in the choices of voters. And then so is religion. More often than not, people say these things and get away with simply because they are not alive to the literature that influence voter choices. And it is not part of any serious business. Because if you look at what happened in the election, the first time you are having a Muslim leading a dominant party like MPP, and then Muslim voting vehemently against him. Why? It means other factors influence their choice and not ethnicity. Come even straight the conversation to the primaries, where you talk about 9 accounts competing against one Notna. And the Notna won all, including Ashanti region. He beat them all. In some places, Ashanti candidates were getting 0. It tells you that people were considering other factors. And look at even the previous national results, where the 2 dominant parties have been, led by Christians, and Muslims in this country were voting for Christians in any of the two parties. So it tells you that ethnicity is not part.
Right.
Sorry, religion is not part, but ethnicity is also not part. Because if that's the case, the dominant ethnic group in Ghana is Akan. Anytime you contest election and you see Akan, you have lost ab initio. But is that the case? We've seen an ever leading this country in the person of Rawlings. We've seen John Mahama coming from a small minority group leading the charge. So it tells you that other factors. But the most important decider of election is what? The economy.
All right,
so build the economy, and then we'll save everybody all this noise about religion and ethnicity.
Well, thank you. Just for public information, and then we'll move on to other papers. Black Queens for Senegal training tour April in anticipation of the forthcoming Women's African Cup of Nations. The Ghana Football Association has announced that the Black Queens would embark on a 9-day training tour of Senegal. And then, of course, Mess Minister commends plastic recycling companies for waste management. I think we should be encouraging that. So that will be it for the Ghanaian Times newspaper, Benjamin. Doc, if you wanna reflect on any of these two stories quickly, the Black Queens and commending plastic recycling.
I think I will start with the waste recycling system using plastic materials.
Right.
It is a good thing, and I will encourage that all the time. If you go to advanced societies, you see when they are arranging their waste, you have container for rubber, for plastic, and bottle for paper and the rest. And they go out there, recycle, and turn them to effective use. What are we doing here? Look at our sea. Anytime you are at the seashore, you see tons of polythene coming out of the sea. And you ask yourself, which direction are we going? It is littered all over this country. Now you see people picking and all that. It's more of nuisance than anything. We can save our society by recycling some of these things. And also shying away from rubber and then put emphasis on paper. And that can help us. Bottles that are broken and thrown away, we can turn them into something. There is nothing like waste, but your ability to be able to see and then put resources in and turn them around, that makes you a better person to fit into this ecosystem.
Thank you so much. Dr. Jabri, a quick bite and then we get into Ben's papers.
Yes, back to the mess issue. You can only make your country clean if you are able to take away all the rubbers on the ground. Because most of the places, the rubbers choke the gutters and everything. And you see flooding all over the place because it's because of the rubber that we use and we throw them out anyhow. If you go to certain countries like Kenya, they don't use rubber. If you go to the shop to go and buy anything, you have to buy a paper bag and they will pack it inside for you. You have to pay for everything. So you hardly see any rubber on the floor. But let's go to any part of our country. You will see that people even use it and put it on the streets. And it is not really helping us. So I believe that recycling is the best way to go. If you cannot completely eliminate it, let's start with the recycling. Let us ensure that we do it and do it better and gradually introduce the paper system or the paper system into the equation. And we'll be in a better position to clean out our environment.
Thank you so much.
Well, let's delve into other papers. The Ghanaian publisher newspaper, Abu Jinapo questions dubious Gold Board initiative, demands clarity. NSS scandal, Gift Yoweri Mensah will avail herself to the NIB. That's according to Afenyo Markin. Abronya rejects Bawumia bad candidate claim, and Bafo Akoto Osei restrained from claiming Kwewu Manghene title. Those are the major stories there. Let me start from here. So, the Member of Parliament for Damongo constituency, a former Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Samuel Jinapo, has charged the government to provide clearer details about its proposed Gold Board initiative. He stressed the ambiguity surrounding the concept and emphasized the need for transparency to maintain investor trust in Ghana's mining industry. The Gold Board, a key promise in the NDC manifesto, is touted as a priority for revitalizing the economy. I will not flog this horse too much because we already know about the initiative. We already know that the central bank's governor has also said that they are dealing with gold to the gold board for more transparency in the system. But the former Minister for Lands and Natural Resources does not agree. In a Facebook post, Jinapo questioned the necessity of the gold board, pointing out that existing institutions such as the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, the Minerals Commission, the Minerals Income Investment Fund, and the Bank of Ghana already oversee the regulation, management, and revenue generation from gold resources. Then, NSS scandal. Gift Mensah will avail herself to NIB. Minority Leader Mr. Alexander Afenyo-Markin has confirmed that Gift Mensah, former Deputy Executive Director, National Service Authority, is prepared to meet with the National Intelligence Bureau over the scheme's alleged scandal. Madam Mensah, along with other former NSA directors, has been accused of adding over 80,000 ghost names to the authority's payroll. The NIB has initiated investigations into the matter. It goes on and on. Yesterday, he spoke to my colleague, Blessed Soga, and of course, that was on Joy FM, but on Joy News as well, there was another interaction there. And the claim has been that there were losses, money that can't be accounted for, of about 50 million Ghana cedis every month. I guess everyone should be given the opportunity to explain themselves, and in this jurisdiction, it is innocent before proven guilty, or until proven guilty. So all those are claims for now. Let's see how things go. Then the third story I'll add for now. The Bono Regional Chairman of the New Patriotic Party, Kwame Bafo, popularly called Abronya DC, has defended former Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia against claims by some party members that he was a poor candidate responsible for the MPP's loss in the 2024 general election. Abronya dismissed arguments from polling station executives and a group within the party calling for Bawumia to be dropped as the NPP's presidential candidate for the 2028 elections. In a fierce rebuttal, he asserted that the defeat was not due to Bawumia's candidacy, but rather a culmination of broader issues. You can get the story from the publisher newspaper, the Ghanaian publisher, and find out what issues he's referring to. Interestingly, Dr. Kwame Asante, I also heard a sticker, Dr. Stephen Amwa, the Nshiaeso lawmaker, also fighting vehemently because part of the Ashanti Regional Report, executives claimed that he took certain actions and he wonders why some would be singled out. So I guess these are testy times, uneasy times within the New Patriotic Party. I'll start with you, Doc Asante. What are your reflections on these matters?
I will look at the Dr. Bawumia's issue and matters arising. It's an interesting thing, but it's early days yet. But if you look at what went on relative to the elections, you realize that a lot went against Dr. Bawumia. Some of them was not his own making. There were factors that also pushed him away. But of course, he also contributed to it. The number of videos that he churned out, and eventually he could not do them. And then the fact that he was the leader of or the head of economic management team, and the economy was in crisis, and he shied away from the government and all that, coming out with what he called the bold solutions, which I didn't see anyway. If you look at all these things put together, the call for him and all that, what they have to do as a political party is what they've started. Do a research and see what has gone wrong. And then when all those who are interested in contesting, they should do another study and find out who is best fit for the job when it comes to the next election. That is the way to go. Anything beyond data or below data, I'm afraid, will not work. They should pick data and see the right candidate who will appeal to everybody before they can go in for the next election. So that's my advice. The next one is the NSS scandal and the issue that confront us as at now. As at now, as you rightly put it, it is innocence until proven guilty. So let us not crucify anybody. Let us respect people's rights. The lady is at the proper forum, and then he is going to talk to those who matter in this enterprise. So at the end of the day, what will come out, everybody will see. So that is what I have. The Gold Board initiative. I don't have knowledge in these things, but the little that I think around gives me some hope that this can really do the trick against smuggling, against the fact that you can use it to regularize the whole system and then check those who abuse the process and all that. But it's early days yet. I think more conversation will be shared on this matter, and people like us who are novice in the area will learn from and make what informed decision out of that. But for now, I believe that we can agree with the government to move on. But if there are other views that can really strengthen the work that they do, or even change the whole process to make it better, why not? We expect the public to share the information. After all, governance is what? Dialogue.
Thank you. Dr. Mohammed, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'll start with the Gold Board issue. Technically, I think we have the Precious Minerals Marketing Company. Then we also have the Minerals Investment Fund. These two companies are different altogether. The Precious Minerals Marketing Company, it goes beyond the element of gold. And the Minerals Investment Fund also goes beyond the element of gold. It tries to encompass all the mineral resources that we have and see how best we can invest component of our funds for the future. And the Precious Marketing Company allows us to be able to market all the precious minerals that we have. So I do believe that the Gold Board is coming in as a regulator of all the sectors in terms of the gold and it mining. So we have something we call swaps. What do we do? And the regulations in the gold sector, as well as mining rules and regulations, things like galamsey and all of that, the determination of who mines at where, what percentage of X, Y, Z should be given to a particular mining company, what concession should you be having. Even though we have the mining laws, but the enforcement of the mining laws should be done by a particular sector. So I hope that even though we have the Minerals Commission, we have the, what do you call it, the other commissions that help to regulate that, I think that there are other companies or there are other issues that needs to be dealt with in terms of agency. So I hope that when the Gold Board comes into force, they will be in a better position to solve all of these problems. Another point I think I want to speak about is the NSS scandal. You know that it costs us an average of 50 million Ghana cedis every month. So which means that in a year, we are losing about 600 million Ghana cedis as a result of the scandal after the investigation. This is, as Dr. Shashanti said, this is until you are proven guilty, you can never be held accountable. So, but I believe that the accountability is very important. They have to take them through the process. When they are found guilty, they can confiscate their assets, and in sometimes, eventually, if they do, some of them may have to be in prison at the end of the day. For the issue of the Abriya DCs as whether Dr. Bawumia is a right candidate or a bad candidate, it rests in the people of the good people of MPP. They will be in a better position to determine whether Bawumia was a bad candidate or he was actually put forth at a time that things were not good. And that is how come that he underperformed. And research can always show which candidate will be better for them. So let's wait. It is early days yet. We should not be putting all our effort on politics. Let's focus on the governance process. Maybe in the next 2 years, we'll be able to know who is going to beat the party. Either Bawumia is coming back or they are bringing in a new candidate. But as we rightly said, they should look at their internal matters very well, do a proper research, and come out with findings that can help them to push them forward. Like the NDC did when they lost in 2016, they constituted a committee, and the committee did a thorough research, headed by, they did a thorough research Bokeh's report, and they came out with a very good findings, and they do work with it. In the next 8 years, they won overwhelmingly. So I hope that the NPP will follow suit, even though they have commissioned one research. But to what extent has that research been done?
Right.
So they just put their acts together and get things to work very well for them.
All right. Government to cushion SMEs in plastic waste management with $7 million grant. Pictured there, Murtala Mohammed, Sector Minister. But what I want to focus on briefly, just one story. Education Minister cautions against religious restrictions in schools. The Minister of Education, Honorable Haruna Idrisu, has called on educational institutions across the country to refrain from imposing religious restrictions on students. Highlighting Ghana's secular nature, he emphasized that no student should be denied the right to practice their religion, urging full adherence to the constitutional provision of religious freedom. And a statement issued by the Public Relations Unit of the Ministry and the Minister made the call during a meeting with the 2024 Basic Education Certificate Examination Award winners in Accra. I just want very brief, not more than 30 seconds on this. What are your thoughts on this move by the Education Minister, since both of you are academics? I'll start with you, Dr. Mohammed.
Yeah, I think it's a step in the right direction, because religion, there should not be a revolution in terms of religion. I think that people should be allowed to worship what they believe in. Whether you are a Christian, you are a Muslim, or you are a Buddhist, you should be allowed to practice the religion that you believe in. A religion that is okay for you, let the person practice that, so that that can bring peace to us. To the extent that you have to restrict Muslims from wearing the veil is unacceptable, because that is their identity. So allow them to espouse their identity at everywhere they find themselves in as a Muslim.
All right. Dr. Hassan Asante.
It's a good call, but my worry is that some of this type of statement have gone a long way to discriminate against some people who profess other faiths, i.e. traditional people. Where are they in the scheme of things? I'm a traditional person. I'm not a Christian, but I'm a very traditional. You go to meetings and all that. Prayer is either Christian prayer, they end with what? Islamic prayer. What about tradition? Those who own the land before other religions appeared here. It is about time we reflected on this thing and include everybody, so that the discrimination against people of different religious faiths will be a thing of the past. Traditional people are also important, factors in the equation. Consider them.
It's an interesting point you make before Sweetie comes in, because then again, we have to contemplate. We're a secular nation, so to speak. We don't have any specific religious taint or leaning. So if we say, okay, the Christian can come with wearing a cross and all that, and it's okay. The Muslim can also come with a burqa or a head veil, and it's fine. Can the one who practices African traditional religion, ATR, also come with, you see what the gan okomfo they put around their neck?
Yes.
And with white cloth and calico and all that. I guess things we can contemplate. I remember when the National Cathedral project came up, others were also calling for a national shrine. Conversations we can have on this matter. Sweetie.
Let's get into the Accra Times newspaper now. First, the stories on the front page. Contribute meaningfully, Speaker Bagbin to MPs. Clark Majority Leader task MPs to enrich Ghana's parliamentary democracy. Gold Board, Sami Jemfi commended and expedites the processes they're demanding. On the economic dialogue, outcomes will be implemented, Maida Boss says. And rising insecurity in Ghana, minority cry. On the road to greatness, Mahama promises new destination as true state of the nation exposes criminals. I don't know if they're criminals. But I want to start with a story about rising insecurity in Ghana, because minority is saying that since the election of President John Dramani Mahama, they are alarmed over rising lawlessness and violence that we are seeing. And so they're asking that they should do something about it. That and the call from the Speaker of Parliament to members of Parliament. The Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, has urged members of Parliament to view their roles as an opportunity to make a meaningful impact on the lives of Ghanaians to enhance national development. And he emphasized that such contributions are not only rewarding in terms of material benefit, but also build reputation, self-actualization, and dignity. Also, the same call, Clark Majority Leader tasked MPs, asking the MPs to see their legislative roles as to be more of value than just serving their respective constituents. And they're urging MPs to actively contribute to strengthening Ghana's parliamentary democracy in this country. Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, these are just some stories here. Quick reflections on any of them that piques your interest.
I'll look at lawlessness and violence in Ghana, which they were talking about.
Yeah.
I'm not sure we are in a lawless state. Far from it. But sometimes we have problems. We saw the last election, the pocket of violence that we saw. Not a good thing. But it did not start from just 2024. We have seen it throughout our electoral years. And we as a society have failed to address them. What we do instead is to compound the problems anytime we go for elections. And after election, we'll go back to sleep. Look at what has happened in 2024. Who is holding who responsible? We've gone to sleep. And this issue, if we don't take care, will rear their ugly heads in our next election. That attitude of ours must end and must end now. Let us find solution to our problems once and for all. The issue of MPs and their impact on society, a good call. MPs represent, first and foremost, their constituents. And once they come to parliament, they also represent the state at that level. So it is important that they are reminded of their role all the time. Some of them will come to parliament and forget about what happens in the constituency. When you call them, very little response and all that. They should shy away from that and visit them time to time, know their problems, convey it to parliament, and then parliament for onward submission to the doorstep of government for redress. That's the duty. They shouldn't promise more than they can deliver. After all, they are lawmakers. But one problem associated with MPs is that because of votes, sometimes they promise something that they cannot deliver. Once they stay within their remits, I think they are good to go.
Right. Thank you. Dr. Mohammed, your take now.
Yeah, so quickly on the parliamentary contribution, I believe that there should be a procedure for members of parliament to be able to contribute meaningfully in parliament. So we need to build their capacity. Capacity building is very important. Some of them come to parliament and are not properly prepared or they are not properly educated. So parliament needs to come out with a procedure of building their capacity so that they can contribute meaningfully both at committee levels and on the floor of parliament. One important thing I think the Speaker of Parliament should do is that they need to come out with a schedule, ensure that each member of parliament makes a statement before they leave parliament. Some of them will come to parliament for the whole 4 years, you will not even hear their voice until they go back to their people for election. I think it is not healthy. There are people, even in as much as they work at the committee level, parliament at display is also equally important for them to be able to showcase what they can do for themselves, for their constituency, and for the country. So they should not shy away from the camera. They have to be in a better position to contribute. So that guidelines should come out and it should be put into their hazard so that they can make a meaningful contribution anytime they come to parliament. On the issue of security, I believe that security is very important. And if there are lawlessness that is coming from vigilante groups or whatever it is, the security services should put better mechanisms in place to be able to stop this. Anytime that a new government comes in, vigilante groups takes over certain installations or certain aspects of toilets, market centers, and what have you. I think that is not good and it has to stop. Remember that in the past, even at court, they want to vandalize the court with mercy, and this kind of behavior are not good. They're basically lawless, and it should not be accepted as a country. This country belongs to all of us, and lawlessness, indiscipline should not be tolerated in any case. Whoever you are, whether you are a political party head or whatever it is, you are not above the law. So the police and the security services must crack the whip. So I call on the Minister of Interior to ensure that some of these things are put to stop at any point in time. Lawlessness should not be accepted in this country.
Right. Thank you. Just a quick headlines on the Daily Analyst. On the front page, Heritage Man GJA President calls for collaboration to promote Ghana's cultural heritage. Daughter of murderer comment. Backbin gives 1 week ultimatum to culprit. Ghana National Association of Small-Scale Miners, I think, backs Gold Board to formalize gold trading. And Gifty Oware returns to Ghana. Ghana must reduce reliance on foreign loans, EIU report says. Ben.
Well, gentlemen, I'm just going to wrap with some headlines. The News Center, and of course, our brothers and sisters on the Omni side, I'm talking about Channel 1 TV and City 97.3 FM, launched 2025 Heritage Month. We are all in the media together, so we celebrate them as well as they do their bit while we do ours here. And arrests of former officials must be civil and lawful, Afenyo Markin says. Dangerous drugs, Samos Farmer fights FDA. Electronic Money Issuers Chamber condemns attacks on mobile money agents. A number of them have lost their lives in the last few years, and there are pictures there. I don't know how apt it is to put their pictures on, front pages like this, though. ANSA hands over solid Jayadek legacy to Ankara, and mandate of Gold Board not clear. Ambiguity can undermine investor confidence. That's according to former Lands and Natural Resources Minister Samuel Jinapo. The Inquisitor, we are poised to implement outcomes of economic dialogue. That's the MIDA boss. I'm talking about Alex Kofi Mensah Mould. Unnecessary attack on Mahama. Alhaji Sani blasts Amidu. And there's also MPP defeat fact findings. Sticker is angry. I'm talking about, like I said, Dr. Stephen Amwa, the Member of Parliament for Inshiaye. So I'll wrap with the Custodian newspaper. And the only story I'll do there, beware of Wagadre NDC. Minority cautions Ghanaians. Now, why are they saying the NDC is Wagadre? The party has entreated Ghanaians to be careful of the governing party and President John Dramani Mahama, who is virtually behaving like a crybaby, endlessly lamenting everywhere about the so-called criminally managed economy. Interesting times, interesting days, and what I would say, an interesting MPP. Gentlemen, 30 seconds each, we have to go. I'll start with you, Dr. Ansa Asante. 30 seconds, please.
I will move away from all that you have said, but there's a story that your network carried, which I want to touch on briefly and go away. The issue of a school in Nanumba area, where children are studying in a very dangerous building with cracks and all that. Why do we do this thing to ourselves when we have put a government in place to take care of our needs and all that? We just want to be there and the building will collapse on them? No. I think that these are some of the things that people in localities might take into consideration. Any government that comes to office and doesn't provide some of these things will vote against that government. That's it simple.
Dr. Mohammed.
Well, I will take my stake on the reliance on foreign loans. I do believe that we have to look inward and ensure that we generate most of our resources internally, because inward remittances and inward this thing can help the country. Over the last years that we have been issuing Eurobonds, we have issued about $21.25 billion from 2007 to 2022. And from 2017 to 2023 alone, we issued about 13.25 billion euro bonds. And I believe that diaspora bond has become one of the critical elements in terms of remittances. If you rely on diaspora bond, we'll be able to cut down the cost of our borrowing by a certain percentage point, at least by 3 percentage points. Research has shown that. So I think that the managers of the economy should look inward and also look at alternative ways of raising funds instead of always looking at external funding, even though external funders are good. But let's look for alternative sources that will give us a better rate.
Thank you, gentlemen, for joining the conversation. Sweetie.
Yes, those who join us, Dr. Kwame Asante, head for the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana, and Dr. Jibril Mohammed, senior lecturer, University of Ghana Business School. Please stay. Muftan Abel Abdullah serves you AM Sports.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to AM Sports here with me, Muftau Nabila Abdullah. You would recall that on Tuesday, Joy Sports reported that the Ghana Football Association spent about 5.1 million Ghana cedis to procure 9 buses for Division 1 clubs. Some members of the football governing body appear to have questions about how Joy Sports actually got documents suggesting that the GFA spent 5.1 million Ghana cedis on 9 buses. Let's take a look at the document. And this document actually emanated from the Ghana Football Association themselves. And it was the GFA president who had mentioned that they were going to buy the buses for the clubs. So let's take a look at that document, which has every single beneficiary of the clubs, because they said they were going to give the clubs in the various zones, Zone 1, Zone 2, Zone 3. And the teams that make the top 3 are the teams that were going to be beneficiaries of these buses. So let's take a look at the document, if it is ready, because the FA actually spelled out every single thing that they're going to give out to each member of the association that did so well in the Division 1 league. So that is the document on your screen. From winner of, we have winner Zone 1, we have first runner-up, we have second runner-up, and then we have winner Zone 2, first runner-up, second runner-up, winner Zone 3, first runner-up, second runner-up. We have winner, and these are the details. So if you move forward small, you will see prize monies for 2023-2024. And these are in figures. So the winner got 50,000 Ghana cedis. But that is not our area of interest. Our area of interest is where the buses is captured. Prize monies, bus. The GFA says is 575,000 Ghana cedis. So the 9 clubs that are going to benefit, it was going to cost the Ghana Football Association 5.175 million Ghana cedis. So it is not actually a figure that Joy Sports conjectured, but it is a figure from the Ghana Football Association. And some of these members who are actually raising questions about how it would cost the Ghana Football Association that much to procure those buses, I think the simplest thing to do is to ask your member, the Ghana Football Association, because this document emanated from the Ghana Football Association and not from Joy Sports. And in fact, we've had people reach out to tell us that what if they told us that each bus cost the Ghana Football Association $9,000 and not 575,000 Ghana cedis. But guess what? Joy Sports independent checks in Korea showed that a 2008 Hyundai County bus would cost you about $7,000. So if a 2014 model, as the GFA claimed they have procured the buses, it's $9,000. It's a bit contradictory, but we wait to see. As I mentioned yesterday, we have written to the Ghana Football Association asking them to actually tell us the details when it comes to the purchases of those buses. As we speak, that hasn't come yet. The total figure, again, emanated from documents that the Ghana Football Association released, of which we have. And that is what I have just placed on the screen. So if you question how we arrived at the figure of 5.175 million Ghana cedis for the buses, just go to the Ghana Football Association for those answers. We move on now, and on March 13, 2025, Joy Sports will be holding a national dialogue in terms of how we can reset Ghana sports. The focus will be on funding, governance, and infrastructure. We've assembled some of the best brains out there to help us dissect the issues and provide the best policies for the governance of Ghana's sports. My colleague, Nat'l Economic is head of thought leadership of Joy Sports.
We're taking a cue from His Excellency the President on one of the days when he swore in a set of ministers. And this was specifically on the day when he swore in the Minister for Sports and Recreation. And he was very clear on what he sees the state of the sport industry or the sports sector
as being, and also what kind of direction he wants to see the sector, toe. So it's very important that as a collective we come together and look at key areas or key drivers of what will be a thriving sports industry, so that we tackle them from expert knowledge and from a solution-based point of view. Before you are able to get all of these solutions, we also need to do a few things scientifically as well, which is to tackle these problems or assess these problems that we have in Ghana sports from a very scientific point of view, so that we have a broader and deeper insight into what the drivers and the causes are, based on which we can get some solutions. So on the day, we're bringing together people who have expert knowledge in the key areas of governance, of infrastructure and financing. We do know that these areas are very key in delivering what will become a thriving sports industry in the future. So we do acknowledge as well that this is a continuous process. It is a step-by-step thing, and so we cannot expect results almost immediately. But what is important is that the collective of stakeholders in sport have come together and have identified that these are the key areas that we need to focus on in driving that agenda that the president has so well spelled out. So we're looking forward to some very healthy conversations and the trading of ideas, so that we all have one important policy document that we can suggest to the Sports and Recreation Ministry to move ahead.
My colleague Nathaniel Arthur there with the details. The Ghana Football Association Club Licensing Department, they have released the list of venues that have been approved for the resumption of Ghana Premier League football. You'd all recall that following the demise of Kumasi Asante Kotoko Fan and Anapole on February 2, during a March Day 19 Premier League encounter between Kumasi Asante Kotoko and Anin Shotroman, the Ghana Football Association halted the competition. And this was to ensure that they put together improved match day security. Two venues have not approved. The Baba Yara Sports Stadium and the University of Ghana Sports Stadium. These two stadia have not been approved. Let's take a look at the list of venues that have been approved. Those have been given conditional approval, and those ones that have been rejected by the Ghana Football Association. So on your screen, we have Dr. Kwame Che Sports Complex. Approved for all Category 3 matches. The Dance Park in Bibiani approved for all Category 3 matches. In Century Sports Arena has been approved for all Category 3 matches. Pando Sports Stadium has been approved for all Category 3 matches. Takwa TNA is also approved for all Category 3 matches. And this one, those that have been given the conditional approval are the Ni Ade Kraku, the second park, the Tuba AstroTurf, the Aliu Muhammad Sports Stadium, the Nana Fosil Jiabo Park, and the Nana Ajman Bedu Park. These venues have been given conditional approvals, and the FA, their club licensing department, would check them again on March 9. These are the venues that have not been approved. The Baba Yara Sports Stadium has not been approved for security concerns. Let's not forget, this is a venue that hosted AFCON and World Cup qualifiers. Now, the GFA club licensing department says this venue is not qualified to host Ghana Premier League matches because it does not meet the safety requirements for a venue that will host Category 3 matches. Category 3 matches, those are matches under the umbrella of the Ghana Football Association, especially the Premier League. Then they say that the University of Ghana Sports Stadium has also not been approved. There's also the Brekum Golden City Park. This one has also been unapproved. And Wenchi Town Park, unapproved. And the AAK Second Sports Arena has also not been approved. So these are the venues that we need to find alternative venues for their matches this weekend. Kumasi Asante Kotoko is expected to host Legon Cities at the Baba Yara Sports Stadium. But with this venue unapproved, it doesn't appear that match would happen until anything happens. The FA says that they will check the venue again on March 9. Now let's hear from the spokesman for Accra House of Oak, Kwame Opare-Addo. He says that if the University of Ghana Stadium is not approved, then no venue in this country is qualified to actually host a Ghana Premier League match.
Friday morning, And then Thursday evening, then we got information that per the new safety and enhanced safety and security measures are introduced. Legon Stadium doesn't meet the standard again. In Tenyadia, bit Legon Stadium. Hey, yes. The communication is that the pitch even we have an undulating pitch. I'm using their own word. They are undulating pitch. So Tenyadia bit also. And the safety and security is always baby a basis back at the court dressing room. VIP honor. There's a staircase that leads to that side, which has a door that you can easily lock as well. So I must say also well secured. Whether there's fairness or there's unfairness or whether there's something that can be done about it or whatever the situation is, you get it. As for the issue of the pitch, how many days now do you pitch? It's a matter of 2 days or 3 days. So how many roll and the professionals know exactly what to do. Does it also make good meaning? Say pitch that is not good. You allow your national under 20 team to continue to play 8 friendly matches there. But pitch no. So why do you commit your players onto that pitch to continue to play matches onto that pitch? Yes, the Legon pitch is not good. Without any disrespect to any pitch, announce any managers of any pitch, announce any venue in the Premier League or in the Division 1. How many pitches announce venues and the features of what Legon has? But yes, still, honorable matches were.
Quite an interesting one there. That was Kwame Oparado speaking to Happy FM. Now we hear from Elom Amenapo. He is an athletics coach. He's called on government and other stakeholders to ensure the organization of athletics competition to help Ghana and add more talents to represent the country at major international competitions.
Said there's no we need that conveyor belt. Yeah. That would, push those athletes beyond the super zoners. And every athlete don't have to be in the US to make it to the professional level like Azamati and Jopo right now. They are the 2 professional athletes we have at the moment. So, for instance, we have a very good stadium in Ghana right now, like the University of Ghana Stadium. That stadium is incomplete. That stadium is about 85% complete because there's no way that you have a stadium like University of Ghana Stadium without a weight room. It's not possible. So no professional athletes can. We have a good track. They're one of the best in the world. The Mundo, the best in the world. Grade A is put at University of Ghana Stadium. But the question is, for let's say Poma I'm coming to Ghana to train. Fred Kelly, I'm coming to Ghana to train, and there's no weight, which is one of the essential components of sprint training. In that stadium, then it's not good. I don't know the people who advised during the construction of the stadium, but it's not the best thing to do.
Thank you so much. And head on to myjoyonline.com and read some more sports stories. AM Show continues right after this.
What I can say is most striking to me, particularly sitting there quietly, is the interconnectedness between the macro group to the private sector, to infrastructure, to all the other sectors, even to the governance and the corruption subsector, the need for us to do major reforms. And so the solution is there. We know the problems. We know what we have to do to resolve the problems. Let's start the implementation. Wow. And so I will wait for the communique. Then so together, I can use the communique as my Bible going into the preparation of the budget and to make recommendations to Cabinet for adoption and approval. Wonderful. For us to input in. Thank you very much.
Welcome back on the AM show. And of course, participants of the National Economic Dialogue, among others, have urged government to prioritize efforts at restoring macroeconomic stability and regaining confidence in the economy. But what exactly is new? Is there any novelty? Now, as the National Economic Dialogue team prepares to submit its full report to President Mahama for consideration and implementation, we ask, what does the future hold for Ghana's economy as the government embarks on this agenda to reset? We're also contemplating these related matters in a broader spectrum this morning on the AM show, and we are joined by our guests. But let me first bring in Kofi Ajay, Isaac Kofi Ajay, in-house statistician, if you like, a man who does the analysis, to walk us through what exactly has been said so far in this two-day economic dialogue. Kofi, a very good morning to you. Do we have Isaac Kofi Ajay? Let me also welcome aboard Dr. Jabir Mohammed. Dr. Mohammed, welcome back. You would have to unmute for me, sir. Do we have Dr. Mohammed on the line? Do we have Isaac Kofi Ajay?
Yes, Ben, I'm here.
Thank you.
All right, Dr. Mohammed, I can hear you now. Thank you for joining the conversation. Kofi Ajay, over to you. Walk us through what has happened so far, the salient matters we need to crystallize in this conversation.
Well, so Ben, very soon we will have an economic Bible, and just like the finance minister said, this is what he is going to use in most of his economic policies. And then also, even if you look at the 2025 budget, some of the recommendations in the net talks and dialogues will actually feature heavily in the 2025 budgets. Now, we have been looking at the communique that came out yesterday, trying to glean out the top 10 of the recommendations that were actually churned out yesterday. And number one for us is the coordination between fiscal and monetary policy operation, which you put right. This was the number one in terms of the recommendations that were actually churned out yesterday. This was the one that featured first. It tells you how important macroeconomic policies actually is to this economy. We know structurally the problems we've been facing, most of them, although you have a significant component being micro, but we usually struggle with the macro aspects where inflation, depreciation of the currency, unemployment rate, and other macroeconomic variables actually affect the Ghanaian economy a lot. And if you look at how tied it is to the external market, the slightest change, the slightest strength that the dollar gains affects almost every aspect of our macroeconomic fabric in this country. The next one has to do with the review of the foreign exchange retention regime. We've spoken about this a lot, how foreign exchange that comes into the country usually finds its way out of the country within a very short period of time. And it looks like it's a structural issue, very cyclical, where almost every quarter when you have the capital flight out of the country, where some companies actually liquidate what they have and then also send out of the country. You look at our mining aspect, for instance, where just I think last year, if you look at the total value of gold that was exported out of the country, that was over $11 billion. And if you ask yourself how much was this was retained in the Ghanaian economy or was actually surrendered to the Bank of Ghana, it was less than $2 billion. So you have out of 11 billion of gold export, just about $2 billion stay in the country. That is one side that they'll be looking at. Also, there is also going to be a major tax reforms that will expand the tax net, including property tax that a lot of experts have been speaking about this, and a revision of the VAT. And Ben, how our VAT actually runs. The calculation is actually a problem where if you visit a shop right now and you decide to possibly buy something and you look at how the VAT is calculated, the fact that you have 3 tax components being added to the real value of the good before VAT is being applied is a problem for many. And then I think that this revision should also look at that aspect as well. Property taxes, we have been looking at that data, and if government decides to go on this tangent, could raise or rake in a lot of revenues for the state. an overhaul of the PFM system, which we know that there is a threshold that the country's deficit should actually be. I think it's around 5%. But over the years, we've seen how finance ministers who even introduced the law have gone overboard and gone ahead to overspend and all of that. The biggest problem facing the country has to be deficit. And we know that currently, because you have limited market, both external and domestic, you definitely would have to look at public, financial management and how, government manages a deficit. Reforms of the SOEs, and we at the Joy News Research Desk have been doing some diggings, and what we found is that SOEs debt as of 2023 stood at somewhere 216 billion Ghana cedis. That is more than the projected revenue that the IMF expects in terms of tax revenue. The IMF expects from the country in 2025. We know that the new GRA boss has been speaking about they being able to attain their target of 200 billion Ghana cedis. Just look at that target and compare it to the huge debt of SOEs, which is now hovering around 116 billion Ghana cedis. We project that if you look at the growth rate or the trajectory, if you have the 2024 report come out, maybe we might have SOEs debt reaching some 250 billion Ghana cedis. Huge. And reforms must actually occur in this sector, where we know there are certain SOEs like ECG, BUI, and VRA, GNPC, Cocoa Board, and all of that, all facing significant liquidity situation and also racking up debt so quickly that it has actually become a burden onto the state. An expansion of the expenditure controls in the public agencies and resource internal audit system also is one thing that featured heavily during the net dialogue. We know this is important because the Auditor General will rely on internal audit and also expand on certain findings that they find at the public agencies. Very important, looking at how the burden that the public sector actually poses on the countries, in terms of expenditure and revenue. Definitely one key area that needs to be reformed. A comprehensive review of ECG's operation and implement necessary reforms to position it for potential private sector involvement. We know both the president and his energy minister have been speaking about privatization, and of course the finance minister as well, which part of ECG is expected to be privatized. If we take a cue from what the president has been saying, we know it is the latter part of the distribution chain where ECG seeks, or the government seeks to privatize. We know ECG is one of the SOEs that's currently drowning in debt. Its debt position now, we understand, is over 30 billion Ghana cedis. That's roughly some $2.5 billion, huge. And we understand that, if you listen to the talks around certain structural reforms, ECG is number one, where even the net team is recommending that certain aspects of ECG's assets, not just ECG, VRA, and also BUI and other, SOE's assets, be liquidated, or in fact, you need to look at their asset situation in order to help the country pay for the legacy debt in the energy sector, which we know that, it's around $2.2 billion in terms of debt owed the IPPs. The country's energy sector is one that's currently gets more than 60% of its dependable capacity from IPP. So going for it, you know that when IPP cuts, the energy sector will definitely catch a cold. And so repositioning ECG in a certain a strong way to be able to pay for its legacy debt is important. Eliminate illegal mining. Illegal mining also featured heavily in the dialogue, and this is actually tied to the value for money we get from our cocoa sector. And Ben, you have been speaking a lot about the cocoa sector and Galamsey when it comes to your bland thoughts, and you know how the impact has been. How even last year we could not meet about 350 metric tons of the our syndicated loan agreement or the forward sales agreement, and we have to pay that this year. That definitely affected the revenues that we got from the cocoa export in 2024. We know cocoa is the backbone of the Ghanaian economy, and usually export revenues has been around $2 billion. But this year we saw it drop significantly to just $1.7 billion, and it was expected. If you are losing significant components of your forest lands to illegal mining and areas where cocoa cultivation is actually, massive to illegal mining. Definitely, you don't expect to destroy your lands and get more from cocoa beans. Number 9, on the recommendation has to do with the cocoa sector as well. That has to do with the returning Cocoa Board to the role as an agency under the Ministry of Finance. So this for me is important. We know how strategic Cocoa Board and cocoa beans itself is. And the reason why Cocoa Board must be under the Finance Ministry is, if you look at all our top foreign exchange earners, it's only cocoa that we can actually beat our chest and say we get more than 90% of whatever we export. And so if we fail to hold cocoa or have a full control over cocoa exports and Cocoa Board, and continue to allow Cocoa Board to rack up debt quickly, that will also affect the strategic position of the country in its geopolitical strength and then also international trade. What we understand is that Cocoa Board currently, we know that but what we know is that Cocoa Board participated in the domestic debt exchange program. So definitely they had that moratorium, or they had that free space where their debt was actually restructured. And the finance minister has said that that is the reason why you saw what he terms as artificial profit or net profit in the cocoa space. And if they start to pay their debt, definitely Cocoa Board will not find itself in a very good liquid position. Number 10 for me, tops it all in terms of the recommendation that you link public sector remuneration to productivity, accountability, and efficiency. Why is this important? This year, the IMF projects that the country's wage bill or the compensation of employees is estimated around 70. That's roughly about $6.5 or $6.3 billion that the country is supposed to cover up in paying to as its wage bill. So if government is paying this huge amount, then definitely it should be able to tie to productivity and accountability. Remember that some time ago there was heated conversation around this, where even the current government statisticians spoke about this, and he faced some sort of hitback from labor. But this is one thing that actually featured during the net discussions, and for me is very important, because this is a part that, if you look at the budget for this year, estimated about 35% of the country's revenue is supposed to go into compensation of employees and labor in terms of being in the public sector. If you compare it to tax revenue, that's more than 50%. And so, these are top 10 of the recommendations that were put out by the NET team yesterday, Ben.
Anyway, thank you, Isaac Kofi-Adjei, for spelling out the issues for us. Also joining the conversation now, we have Professor John Gachi. He is member of the organizing committee of the National Dialogue, and he joins the conversation as well. Professor Gachi, a very good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Of course, he also is Dean of the Business School at the University of Cape Coast. What do you make so far of the discussions that have been held, this two-day dialogue, and what has emanated? Some people, there are two schools of thought. Some say, but wait, aren't we belaboring the point? These are all things we already know. But others also say we must get to this point so that the way forward can be clear, so that these matters can crystallize. As someone in the thick of things, as far as the NED is concerned, what is your posturing on the meetings so far?
Well, the meeting is a good one. It has a look at very important issues of our economy. Some of which the problems are known, but not the solution. Even where the solutions are known, not the approach to adopt. So that makes the dialogue very, very relevant. Gathering these experts, private sector, and then practitioners together, with a commitment level of work, demonstrates that it's something that they consider very important. So we cannot belittle it. What is now important is how we are going to ensure that the outcome is implemented to achieve the objectives of having the dialogue. So that is what I believe we will be focusing on. We're in a democracy, so we will always divide around things. But the focus is that we have ended the dialogue. We came out with a communique, a comprehensive report to be coming at least from now up to 20th of this month. That report will be presented to the President of the Republic. The Finance Minister has taken what the short-term measures to deal with into the budget, and the NDPC will be working to calibrate that into the medium to long-term agenda to drive the economic agenda for the President. Also, the ministers have taken what we call the takeaways from the forum, and they have highlighted how they want to do going forward. The governor of the Bank of Ghana articulated the need for engagement with the private sector semi-annually. The governor of the Bank of Ghana has seen the recommendation from the team that it is good to subject a semi-annual report to Finance Committee of Parliament for a proper oversight. He indicated more transparency in monetary policy determination. And a clear focus on dealing with food inflation is very important as articulated. So for me, these are clear roadmaps that should now provide the energy to the ministers, NDPC, and to all people involved to implement. And the good thing is that we have started publicizing some of the recommendations. So when they do implement them, we are all going to be aware. When they are yielding fruit, it's all going to be aware. So the outcomes are not hidden issues. When we finish the comprehensive report and give to the President, it's not going to be hidden. It's going to be published.
I just want some clarity on this matter, because one of the major things you spoke about was the coordination between monetary policy and fiscal policy. Of course, if you're contemplating monetary policy, you're thinking mainly of the central bank and how it can shape up policy in that regard. If you're thinking of fiscal policy, you're thinking taxes and the spending of government. It's easier said than done. It's something that we've known, again, over time. What are the real actions that are being proposed at the NED that can change the course of our economy in that regard?
I think the Bank of Ghana is being encouraged to state limits that they think that debt should be procured to. It should show limits where it thinks that deficit will be affecting negatively their work. Then the Bank of Ghana is required by their mandate to ensure price stability. How does the Bank of Ghana do that to ensure that inflation is stable and low, when the Bank of Ghana is not the one in charge of the productive sector? So you can only do that through engagement. So the Bank of Ghana has made it clear yesterday how they want to use the institution called Govt, which is actually oscillates between the Bank of Ghana and Agri, to de-risk agriculture. Then again, engagement with
It's unfortunate we appear to have lost Professor John Gachi. He was elaborating on my question in respect of how to bring the monetary policy and fiscal policy in tandem so that it works for our economy, to shore up our economy. But I'm going to throw that same question to Dr. Mohammed on the same point. What are your thoughts? This is not new, but there could be novel ways of handling the situation. Professor Gachi was just referencing the central bank being encouraged to take certain actions. Anyway, let me go back to Professor Gachi. He's back on the line. Prof, back to you.
Yes. Yeah. So those are the clear measures of engagement that will be going forward now to see that all the players are on the same page. Already the Statistical Service has identified a number of crops. In fact, they are of short gestation period, so that when we target in a collaborative manner between the Bank of Ghana, the fiscal authorities, the Agric Ministry, and other related institutions, then we can begin to increase production, because your agri-policy must also feed into currency management, must feed into fighting inflation, and must feed into diversification, must feed into value addition, and for that matter, export. So that collaboration is clear. The Bank of Ghana will have a semi-annual meeting with the private sector. In fact, I've participated in part of the private sector discussion where the private sector players are talking to themselves at the forum to collaborate more. In fact, I met, I don't want to mention the private sector players, about 4 of them, two Lebanese, Jordanian, one Indian, and then one Ghanaian, and they were discussed, look, we can turn rice around. If you bring 2 million, I bring 2 million, I bring 2 million. And in fact, over there, they tasked one of them to go and draft an MOU for them to sign and then start the business. In fact, one of them said he has this already. So for me, this engagement is clearly bringing collaboration and then trying to work together for the betterment of the economy.
Okay. Let me, just hold for me, Prof. Let me also give a bite to Dr. Mohammed, who has been following the conversation. On that same point, barring any novelties, what is your reading of the work so far done by the National Economic Dialogue? And you can expatiate on some of the points I've already mentioned. Fiscal policy, monetary policy, the macroeconomy. We throw these things around, but in the end, what do they mean? How do we make them better?
Thank you, Ben, and thank you for having me once again. I think that the macroeconomic environment is critical in ensuring that we have price stability, we ensure that cost of living is low, and we ensure that everything is working out efficiently. If you don't have a resilient fundamentals, you and I know very well that things cannot hold. Even the political system depends on the resilience of the macroeconomy. So I do hope that most of the policies being proposed by the NEC is going to help to resolve most of the problems that we currently have. Yesterday, as I said earlier on, I had the opportunity to sit through and see the robust policies that each of the 6 thematic areas were presenting. And I do hope that these are policies that can help to resolve the problems that we are facing. One of the critical issues that one of the committees, I think the private sector committee, argued that there is a need to have a debt ceiling of 60% of GDP. But the National Development Planning Commission Chair, Nimoy Thompson, argued that it is not about having a debt ceiling, but it is about ensuring that your ability to service your debt is instrumental towards the amount of debt accumulation that you should have. And I agree to that particular point of view, because we need to be able to invest in areas that can repay itself. You don't have to take debt and invest them in recurrent expenditure. If you look at the borrowing profile of the country, normally Parliament will tell you that most of the amount of money that is going to be borrowed is going to be used to finance maturing debt. And little amount of it is normally used in financing critical sectors of the economy that can add value to the real economy. So I do believe that, yes, debt is good, but we should invest in critical sectors of the economy that can help to stabilize the economy. Another critical element that the panel raised was the issue of monetary policy, as you rightly said. And the central governor of the Bank of Ghana came out with very prudent measures that I think that, if when implemented, can go a long way to connect the economy very well, so that we can help to stabilize the economy. The overall effect is that we are always more interested in ensuring that we have price stability. How do you ensure price stability if the monetary authority and the fiscal policy do not align together? They need to align, they need to communicate. If the monetary policy component is ensuring that there is expansionary monetary policy, it means that the government should be doing contractionary fiscal policy. Otherwise, if all of them are doing expansionary, obviously the replica effect is that you are going to have price instability, which is going to lead to inflation, and also your currency is going to depreciate in the long run. What did the central bank governor say that he wants to do? I believe that the earlier comment made by the other panelists, Don Gachi, he argued profoundly, and I tend to side with one of the things that the central governor says. He says that one of the things he mentioned was that, last year, a reserve required ratio was introduced, about, let's say, 4% for commercial banks. So after you have paid your 14% or so, there was an additional introduction of, is it 2 or 3 or 4%, was also introduced. And this particular rate was to help to reduce the excess liquidity in the system, and also to help to bring the inflation downward. And he's of the opinion that, why don't we, take component of the money, at least 10 billion, and give it to GESA, which is the one that is giving loans to the agricultural sector, so that the agricultural sector can increase. Since most of the challenges that we have in the sector is about food inflation. Food inflation is one of the biggest components when it comes to the inflation. So why don't we give component of the money to GESA so that they can give it out as loans, be able to stabilize and increase the agricultural value chain? And to me, it is a very resounding policy that can help to stabilize prices at the lowest level. Another critical element that he spoke about was that, why don't we also, if we are not giving all the money to GESA, why don't we give the money to them in silos, so that you don't give all the money to them at once? If you do that, you are going to increase inflation at once. So you give it to them in bits, so that at least you free up the liquidity to them, but do that in a very mindful manner, in such a way that you don't end up having excess liquidity in the system that is going to be inflationary. So he argued about a gradual process of releasing such funds to them that the Bank of Ghana is holding, and that can help to increase money supply. I believe that if the central bank have to do that, then the central bank will also have to put contingency measures in place, such as ensuring that it means that the monetary policy rate might not adversely come down, as you may see. What they will have to do is that they need to keep the monetary policy up, because you are giving money that you have already taken from them in store. So when you have to do that, the monetary policy rate cannot immediately come down, because you need to be able to give out that funds to them in a gradual process. Another critical point the governor made, and I think aside with it, is that he says that each member of the Monetary Policy Committee views are going to be made public after the Monetary Policy Committee is read. Usually you see that it is made as a unanimous decision that is being communicated. But he argued that no, it is important for you to know that each member is saying so. It's not all members who argue that let's maintain the monetary policy rate or let's increase the monetary policy rate. But he is of the opinion that to restore confidence in the system, allow everybody's view to be known to the public, and which for me, it is a surest way to ensure that you are allowing transparency and you are allowing people to have confidence in the monetary system. Another point the central governor raised, and I think is going to help to ensure that we have price stability, is the fact that he is ready to engage with the private sector. Actually, the private sector people made this particular call, and he argued that, well, he has always, the new Bank of Ghana Act mandates that they submit a report to Parliament by annual. So he's going to, after the report is submitted to Parliament, he's going to have a town hall discussion with the private sector. And for me, if the private sector, they are the engine for growth. So if they are being engaged with the monetary authority and being engaged with the fiscal policy element, they are going to tighten up things. So this is a very critical element that can come to the economy to be able to stabilize the economy. Right. And I think that if this is put into a better perspective, the economy can rebound back, then we'll have the growth that we want to see, and all the indicators will stabilize as a result of that. Another critical point
just a quick one before you go to that last point. Speaking of the banks, we also heard the central bank's governor talk about non-performing loans in respect of the banks, talking about the fact that some of them even have a ratio of about 80% non-performing loans. At least one example that was cited. What does that mean? What work must be done on the banking sector in that regard to be able to ensure that they can recoup what they've invested and that they can then go on to reinvest in other people so the economy can grow?
Well, thank you so much. I think he said that there are three case scenarios he gave. One of the case was the 80%, the 81%, and which means that every one Ghana cedi you give out, 81% is gone bad. And to me, it's not a proper banking practice, because the intermediation process of banks is to receive deposits from the surplus unit and reallocate the funds to the deficit unit. So if you receive surplus money from people and you give out the loan and you cannot retrieve them, then it means that it's a bad banking practice. What must you do to ensure that you minimize your non-performing loans? You have to remember that the Ghana referencing rate is given, which constitute about three key elements. One of them is about the treasury bills. Another one is interbank interest rate. Another one is the monetary policy. And the last element is the cash reserve ratios that the banks also do. They constitute to come out with the Ghana referencing rate. And the banks end up topping up with their margins. And the margins are coming from the non-performing loans. So if the non-performing loans are high, it's going to feed into a high interest rate. So it's going to have a general impact on the lives of businesses, because businesses' cost of borrowing is going to go up. And when your cost of borrowing is up, it affects your productivity. And it's going to feed back to the price effect. And at the end of the day, you are going to have prices of goods and services increasing and inflation going up. So it's a very serious matter that needs to be tackled, because foreign banks has only 21% of the loans not performing very well. Why can't we work assiduously on our local banks to ensure that they stabilize their distance, which means that they need a lot of training. It means that most of their people are not qualified in terms of loan monitoring procedures. So the local banks should put in place training programs to ensure that their people understand the loan generation process and how loans can be generated and actually be scaled, so that at the end of the day, they are able to retrieve the loans that they have given out. So frankly speaking, it has to be tackled from the central bank, and also be tackled assiduously from the local banks. You cannot say that only the local banks were affected by the debt exchange program. That's not feasible. All the banks were affected. So what is it that the local banks are heavily affected as compared to their foreign counterparts?
Right.
That is a question we should be asking ourselves.
All right. There was a final point you want to make. If you do recall, you can make that point before I go to Prof. Gachi and spend some time with him as well.
Yeah, so the other point was the energy sector and the cocoa sector that we are trying to clean up. And the cleaning up is very necessary. And private sector participation, the listing of ECG and the listing of Cocoa Board in the Ghana Stock Exchange is eminent in ensuring that we are able to restore the confidence in them and allow the public to have a bite on their asset and liability management. So the management of the asset and liability of these SOEs should be anchored by the fact that they are made public. And once they are made public, they are going to be held accountable. The government is going to reduce the excess, the excess ownership in terms of the shares of the bank, in terms of the shares of those parastatal institutions or government state-owned enterprises. So once they're able to be listed, then it means that we are going to reduce that kind of government dominance in the sector. And it's going to clean up, and everybody will have a light. Imagine that you are having a program like this and the light goes off, everything is off. So when realistic tariffs are being paid, it means that people can have a better lighting system and people can have their businesses being run without any challenges. We want to have our businesses run down because we don't have electricity. Obviously, no. So we want to have our businesses continuously to run at a lower cost.
Right.
And the only way to do that is to have reliable, efficient energy, and that can help to resolve the problem. And I believe that the dialogue simply gives the way for this particular revitalization, because the sector that look at the energy concentrate on only two issues, the cocoa sector and ECG. What I was surprised about is that NETCO is very important. NETCO should have been added to that particular sector so that we'll clean up NETCO too. NETCO is a very important area that has to be cleaned up, and the VRA. So if you only clean up ECG and you don't clean up VRA, you don't clean up NETCO, then you haven't done anything much. So the committee should have included this. And even the upstream energy sector was not included. The midstream was not properly included. You just focus on only one element. I don't know the mandate they were given, but I strongly believe that we could have had a lot of other information that will help to resolve most of the challenges that are linking one another.
Thank you for those thoughts. I guess maybe there's also the thinking of the heavy indebtedness of ECG, and maybe that could have contributed to the bit. The little bit I'll add there is that while, yes, we want to keep our lights on and we want to ensure that we are paying the right tariffs, we can go back to the days of rollings and subsidies and what they did and how we had to scrap them. At the same time, we don't want to have to fork out exorbitant sums of money for electricity, which is why we must sanitize ECG so that then if the losses are cut, then we don't all have to account for the deficit, which is unnecessary, really. But coming back to Professor John Gachi, there's something that many Ghanaians are talking about, and it has to do with taxes. In fact, a lot of Ghanaians are also saying, if we get the boons of paying taxes, we'll be ready to pay the taxes, right? But this government is taking away betting tax, taking away the COVID-19 levy, which I support, by the way, taking away the e-levy. These I support. But in the end, they would have to make way for the deficit, which is why there are going to be some sweeping reforms, or at least as proposed by the National Economic Dialogue. VAT is going to be impacted. There's going to be a review of property taxes or property rates. How do you think we can actualize this for real? Balancing, ensuring you are not getting the ordinary Ghanaian out of pocket, but also ensuring you are getting enough to run the economy.
Yeah, thank you. But before I come to that, let me make a comment on two issues raised. DRA NETCO came up for discussion yesterday, and a very clear strategy was suggested to deal with VRA debt and then managing hydro power as a unit as opposed to differentiating them. So that was clearly made during the dialogue. Then, again, the matter regarding debt ceiling is actually, you cannot shy away from debt ceiling when you are talking about fiscal discipline. The fiscal discipline measures include a level of your debt to GDP. Fiscal ratios will have to be computed to be guiding you whether you are on course or not. In fact, the whole essence of an independent debt management office, as we see in Nigeria, in UK, and the rest, is about monitoring debt and then telling government this is what you need for this particular fiscal year. So debt ceilings are very, very important to anchor in the idea of fiscal responsibility. Then again, we also need to be mindful that if we are comparing ourselves with some advanced country, which is doing 105 debt to GDP ratio by still strong, let us look at the structure of those economies, the productivity of those economies, the revenue mobilization of those economies, the structure, infrastructure level, the export level. I believe you can see that Japan has about 250 or so debt to GDP ratio. But if you are walking on the street or you are even observing outside Joy FM station now, the number of Japanese cars that you see this year, registered this year, tells you the level of export from Japan to Ghana. So the export is robust. So we do not have the same economy like those people. So debt ceilings are very important to serve as a guide. And then we also need to develop the economy on other lines. Now, the issue about debt, taxes. See, the issue is that we have concluded that the tax environment is choked. We need to give breathing space to businesses to operate. And the understanding is that the VAT, as it is currently, the compliance level is low. What is causing that low compliance level is because of filing VAT in different forms that has made it more complicated for the taxpayer. And normally when it is complicated, it's not simple and flexible. The taxpayer will definitely fault or will not comply with that. So we shouldn't only be focusing on the revenue. When we create an enabling environment for the businesses in terms of a flexible tax regime, they will comply and the mobilization will be more than when we file up all these kind of taxes on them.
All right. Prof, there was more I would have just briefly wanted to run by you. I know you have to go, but very quickly. Two quick things. One, the reformation or reforming SOEs. It's a major headache we have as a country. For decades, we've carried that on our conscience, dealing with them, letting them spend freely without bringing anything, for most of them, to the national kitty. And then COCOBOD, which is one of these, right? And the thinking that it should be returned to the Ministry of Finance as an agency. What are your quick thoughts on these two matters? SOEs and their performance, how we can mitigate the situation, and COCOBOD returning to being under the Ministry of Finance as an agency. Quick thoughts?
Yeah, I think the suggestion meant to provide a better financial oversight of COCOBOD to ensure that they operate within the rules so that they can be strong, manage the cocoa sector very well, increase our production, and then structure our forward contract very well so that we do not do 100% forward contract so that when the spot market price is good, there is a certain percentage of our cocoa that we can yield to the spot market to get more benefits. So we need to enhance better financial management and allow the cocoa board to concentrate on its core activities of developing the cocoa sector.
All right. Thank you, Prof.
Having the SOEs is very important, but we need to identify the sources of. The main source is political interference, poor governance, and then there is no agency to manage those institutions as private entities. But those entities are supposed to be managed as private sector manage their activities. We do not allow them to manage it like that. The way we appoint people, all those things will have to change. And that means that we are actually resetting the SOE sector.
Thank you very much, Prof, for joining the conversation. Professor John Gachi, he is Dean of the UCC Business School. He is also a member of the organizing committee of the National Economic Dialogue. We also have Dr. Mohammed still with us. On the same point, ensuring that expenditure is curbed and channeled into the very best avenues or sources. What do you make of that recommendation that SOEs should be, that sector ought to be looked at, Dr. Mohammed?
Well, if you look at it critically, the conversation has been on the structure of the SOEs.
Right.
And the reformation of the SOEs. And you need to ensure that you are able to ensure that they do proper corporate governance practices. Because if they don't do proper corporate governance practices, there is a very serious implication on their activities. And I mentioned yesterday that political economy is one of the critical elements that normally drive most of these SOEs into the bad quagmire that they normally find themselves in. Because if the political leaders consistently interfere with the affairs of these SOEs, they go to them to take money, they appoint people who are not properly qualified into these positions. Eventually, you are not going to have them pursuing the interests of the state. And why these state enterprises were established, they are going to be pursuing their personal aggrandizing. And this may not help in shaping the good cause of those SOEs. So I believe that, yes, we need the reforms, but reforms must be targeted in such a way that you allow some degree of autonomy that the private sector may have a play, may have a say in their activities. The government should not just appoint everybody as a political person into their boss. They should not appoint everyone as political members into directorship positions and all of that. If you consistently continue to do that, the people will come and say that my government is in power and you cannot do me A, B, C, D. We can leave that to other state enterprises, other state institutions that are not generating revenue. A revenue generating state institution is a serious business. It should not be business as usual. They have to be properly managed by professionals. So let's constitute the way and manner in which we try to engage them. So if you want to grow them through the ranks and file, you can groom all of them so that the deputies become people who have worked in that particular sector for some time. Then you can bring a political head to pursue your political agenda. Then the deputies are the core people who have worked there for a very long time. And the other technical directors, if you are even bringing someone who is politically aligned to you, then the person must be a technical person who is devoid of political interference, too much political exposure. Let me put it that way. A politically exposed person should not be sent to be a deputy director or should not be sent to be a deputy CEO. Apart from the first political head that you select, the rest should be people who have professional background. Right. Remember when the GRA boss was appointed, people masked up at the GRA office and say that he's not a party member. Is he not a professional person? Do you know the role he was playing behind the ground until the party came into power? So when we appoint people who are politically clean, then it helps to restore confidence in those sectors.
Right.
And we can help to bring it to a better track.
Dr. Mohammed, before you go, just briefly, if you can do 30 seconds, I'd be grateful, or 40. There's also that bit about wanting to link public sector remuneration, how much you pay people in the public sector, to productivity, accountability, and efficiency. Any economy that is running properly ensures that while we give you money, you give us back what we deserve for that money. We've spoken about SOEs, the companies as a whole. How about individuals and their performance? What are your quick thoughts on that?
So value for money is very important. You cannot employ somebody without the person matching up the productivity with what the person earns. So if you have to continue to do that, then we have to do productivity per man hour. How many hours that you work should be commensurated with how much pay you receive. You know, most of the government state institutions, people go and sit down, they play music, they do all kinds of things. At the end of the day, they get up and they go. Yesterday, one of the recommendations from the private sector was that we should change the Fair Wages and Salary Commission to National Remuneration and Productivity Commission, NRPC, National Remuneration and Productivity Commission. And that can truly reflect the name of what people have to do and what they have to earn. You remember that the Ghana Statistical Service came out with a particular a release some time back, and they argued that most public sector workers take money and their productivity don't match with what they earn. So let's rationalize the public sector. Let's do job skills and job gap analysis and come out with a productivity output report that shows what the people do, and you enumerate them based on what they do. So I will continue to argue for the worker, per man worker hour that you earn. How many hours you work, they pay you for how many hours you work. So, but we cannot rely on the minimum wage. The minimum wage is just a minimum wage. But look at the person's skills and determine. If you go to the US, you go to UK and all those places, they pay people per productivity per hour. If it is going to be $15, if it's going to be $30, so in Ghana, we can say if you are working for this number of hours,
right,
we are paying you 500 cedis, we are paying you 1,000 cedis based on your skill. And I think that businesses and even government will have value for money if you continue to do things like this.
Value for money, of course. We all look forward to that someday in Ghana. I'm not saying it's non-existent, but how do we do better? Those who joined us for this all-encompassing conversation, we had Dr. Jabir Mohammed. He's a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School. We also had Professor John Gachi, the Dean of the Cape Coast School of Business at the University of Cape Coast. He's also a member of the organizing committee of the National Economic Dialogue. But at this juncture, after we've done all the evaluation, the analysis, the conversation on the economy and what the way forward is, who feels it the most? You and me. In fact, you and I, we feel it the most. And that's why we'd love to hear from you right now. What are your thoughts on the NED? What are your thoughts on their recommendations? And what do you think we can do moving forward? You can call that number 0302-211-691. We have our first call on the line. Richard from Obuasi. Good morning, Richard.
Yeah. Good morning, Benjamin.
How are you doing, sir?
I'm great, and you?
I am well, by God's grace. What is your take? And to all of you, if you call, make it brief, straight to the point. Let's get into the issues. Your thoughts, Richard?
Right, thank you. My take is that projects started by a particular government should be continued by the current one. In fact, there should be a law binding the successive governments to continue projects started by previous ones. Project facilities started by the previous governments with taxpayers' money should not be allowed to rot. In fact, we have so many of them that have gone waste, and we have lost a lot of money. That is my problem. Let that be fixed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. But if you look technically at our legal infrastructure, there are some stipulations that push for this. It's just that the political parties, when they come, sometimes run roughshod over agencies like the National Development Planning Commission, among others, and do what they please. But thank you for those thoughts. You can also call and share your thoughts with us, 0302-211-691, 0302-211-691. Yes, the National Economic Dialogue, yes, it's being held, recommendations, or it's been held, recommendations have been made. But where do we go from here? When there's talk about fiscal and monetary policy, when there's talk about the foreign exchange regime being reviewed, when there's talk about VAT, so you take away some taxes, but how do you rationalize the system to ensure that you are getting what you need in the state kitty? Because that is the same thing they're going to use to build the roads, build the hospitals, and all of that. How do you do all of that? There's talk about state-owned enterprises and how a lot of them are failing. In fact, instead of being in the black and contributing to our economy, they are in the red and creating debt, liabilities rather than assets. How do we deal with them? Do we just keep them because they are there? Oh, Ghana owns this. There's GIHOC, there's that. What are they bringing to the kitty? That's the question. And then there's COCOBOD and its debt and all that. You can call me and share your thoughts on all of these matters. 0302-211-691. And I want some of you, when you do call, to definitely look at ECG and what is happening there. I believe we have a call on the line. Hello, good morning. Hello, Enoch. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Where are you calling from, please?
I'm calling from Western region.
Where in the Western region? All right, go ahead, Enoch. What are your thoughts for us? Enoch, listen to me on the phone, not on your TV, else there will be a delay. It's unfortunate. If you can hear me, please call back and let me know what your thoughts are. 0302 211-691, 0302-211-691. Call through, let me know what your thoughts are. So I was talking there about reviewing ECG's operations. We have Yakubu on the line. Hello, good morning.
Say about the East matter. Why is that it's put there? If anytime they mention that they want to prioritize ECG, they are not happy. But they don't want to deliver for that. What is the reason? And about because if government is serious for the agri sector, I'm sure all of us will be happy in this country. They should make agri sector their key mega flagship points in this year. We are just begging them. They should be serious on that. Because some of us, we went to agriculture and we know how profitable it is. But where is the money for you to invest there? That's a problem.
Yakubu, we're grateful for your thoughts.
Yeah, just no capital for you to just go there and wait about it.
So, Yakubu, I think your point is made. Yakubu, he's talking about capital for people to go into ventures like farming, something that is very economically viable. But what is the general approach? How can government help? That's basically what he's espousing. You can also call that number 0302-211-691, 0302-211-691. What are your takeaways from the National Economic Dialogue? We have Sylvester on the line. Sylvester, where are you calling from?
From Kumasi. Good morning.
All right. Good morning. Your thoughts?
You see, I don't see any changes happening. We are only caught in the West. I see the same professors. I see the same doctors.
Sylvester, please speak up. Speak up for me.
I see the same doctors. I see the same professors. I see the same bureaucrats who are running the affairs of the state over the years. And they have kept us going to IMF over and over and over and over. Nothing new is coming from these people if we keep on depending on them and what it is that they say. Christians, at least, tells me that nothing new will come out. They do not understand the problems of this country. The problem of this country is about insecurity. It is the basis for any developed country. If you lack security, there is no way you can develop. Insanity in the system. There is nothing new any government can do if we will sit in this insanity to think that we can change something going forward. You can't even know, you can't even tell how many foreigners are even in the country, what they are adding and what they are taking off the system. You don't even know your borders, how well they are kept. You don't even know who is working and who is paying tax and who is not paying tax. No data, nothing. My brother, I'm telling you, no amount of dialogue that we will do in this country can change unless we go to the fundamentals and resolve the fundamentals. And the fundamental is curing insecurity in the country, my brother. Thank you.
Thank you for your thoughts. Thank you for your time. And you referenced the fundamentals that have to be dealt with. It's interesting. We've been talking about the fundamentals for a while. When will we ever get to the fundamentals? When will we get to the foundation and build from there? 0302 211 691. 0302 211 691. What are your thoughts for us? This is where you get to speak for leadership to listen. We have Bafo in Sunyani. Bafo, good morning.
Morning.
What are your thoughts for us, please?
Okay, mine, I think, will be on the anti-corruption space. It's like politicians are making us believe that it will be difficult to sort of bring people who have engaged in allegedly corrupt acts to book. For instance, when there was this UPSC addressed by the minority leader went there and tried to sort of also take some stand. It's like, I don't know, to discourage the program. That is what I saw. Then, yesterday, the NSS issue. The lady is alleged, but it's alleged. We all cannot see that she's involved in. But once the president has issued a certain directive to certain state agencies to go after such persons, you shouldn't let politicians take the stance. I mean, if they do that, they sort of glorify those people, and some of us will be also attempted to also do corrupt things. And we'll go out, we'll go free. Because, I mean, look at the stories we are hearing about all these corrupt acts, and people are frustrating the system. They are not letting the people work. I mean, look at money that have been wasted, lost. We need money to build the need. And if you are going after these people, you see lawyers, politicians, defending these people, and they are frustrated. Thing that at the end of the day, it's like it is our money. What they are doing, they are not letting some of us. Please, let me not get.
Bafo, don't get frustrated. We've all got to that point. Don't get despondent. We all have to work together to ensure that there's accountability. So let's not give up. Bafo, thank you for calling. Bafo sharing his thoughts there, and you can tell his angst, his frustration as a Ghanaian. And he's saying that, I mean, we could all decide to do this. And so there must be accountability. There shouldn't be a witch hunt. It shouldn't be that certain people are targeted merely because there's this. But if you look at some of what, as the details, reveal, the rot we have seen at the National Sports Authority, where every month the equivalent of about 50 million Ghana cedis was being lost to ghosts, and who was behind that, I mean, we have to get into them. Did these really happen? Who is responsible? And if someone is responsible, throw that person in jail. And more so, let's recoup what we can from them. Simple. We have Ifwa. Is it from Takrady?
Yes, Ifwa from Takrady.
Ifwa, what are your thoughts for us? And thank you so much for calling. Yeah, man, I'm on time, Fred. Then I'm sure.
So, what I want to see in the economy, I think we have to try and cut down so many things, especially the allowances. All those big people receive, those SIC, VRA, Cocoa Board, and all those things. CEOs. It's also going to help our economy.
Right.
That's what I want to say. We should cut down all those allowances we are taking.
That is spot on.
And unnecessary tax.
Spot on, Ifwa.
Yes, that is
we want to hear.
Contribution. That will help our economy. And if you bring back the road tolls, yes.
They should bring back the road tolls, I say.
Yes, and take COVID levy and levy away. There are other ways to get taxes and get money from the citizens, but not to the COVID levy and the e-levy.
All right. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us. We appreciate it. If we are maybe sometime call in again, we want to be hearing from our women a lot more. But the phone lines are still active, 0302-211-691, 0302-211-691. What are your thoughts for us on these matters we are discussing? The National Economic Dialogue has had its meetings, come through with its recommendations. But what does it mean for you? Kwame, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Where are you calling from, please?
I'm calling from Takwa.
Kwame from Takwa. What's on your mind?
I'm called Alex Kwam.
Alex Kwam. Oh, my apologies.
Yes,
Mr. Alex Kwam. What's on your mind?
Yeah. In fact, I want to talk about the economy. The president is saying that we have to limit, cut down certain expenses. But you look at about 3-4 institutions, and the head of those institutions are said that they are so huge that, for example, you look at the CMD boss, who is collecting almost about 861,000 plus. You go to Bank of Ghana, and still there are a lot of people there who are still misappropriating the budget or the revenue that is generated. I think it is important for the president to take very serious action or drastic action against misappropriation, and the people that are put in sensitive position, the SOEs, they misappropriate revenues or funds and they are left off the hook. I don't think that is fair. So if we can look at all these things and cut down government expenditure, I think this country will move forward. Thank you very much.
Mr. Alex Kwam from Takwa, thank you for your thoughts. You are our final caller. And there'll be many more opportunities of engaging on these matters, on mapping the way forward for you and for me, for all of Ghana. Thank you for contributing. We take a breather. We'll be right back with more conversations Tuesday.
Welcome back on the AM show. Let's talk now about Elevate from EcoBank. In the studio with me this morning is Regina Ofori. She's head of marketing and brand, EcoBank Ghana. And Charlotte Amankwa is head of commercial banking at EcoBank Ghana. Ladies, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
We want to discuss Elevate Ghana, right? And you say it's a better way to bank for you and your business. Exactly what does this mean? Let me start with you, Madam Charlotte.
Yes, Elevate by EcoBank is an initiative for women. So about 4 years ago, we started on this journey where we sought to have something unique for our women entrepreneurs, focusing on the SME to local corporate segment. So it's a mix of really their financial and non-financial needs, targeting areas where we identify that there were gaps, and as a bank, we needed to come in to help fill those gaps.
So are you providing them with financial aid?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, break it down for us to understand.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Right.
So we've been on this journey, actually started off by understanding what it is in the women's space. So if you look in Ghana particularly, amongst our SMEs, interestingly, most of our SME businesses are women. Our businesses in themselves are SMEs.
Yeah.
In the country, statistics show that up to 90% of our businesses are SME,
right,
and almost half of that are run by women. So amongst us, the three of us, the view is at least one of us would start a business, at some point in our adult life. Now, despite all this, we found that there were gaps in terms of how they are able to access financing, even getting the skill set, the capacity development to approach banks and get the support, as well as being able to take their products, to markets. That's access.
Okay.
So financial support looks at these areas, how we build them up, give them the banking service, etc.
I like that you identified the gap and went about to just fix it for yourselves. And I'm sure this isn't the first time you're doing this, is it? Okay, so Regina, tell us how you've measured the impact of the first time you did this, and then maybe we'll set the pace for what you're about to do this year.
Awesome. So as Charlotte said, Elevate was originally introduced by EcoBank in 2020. So 4 years in the fifth year now. And so over the years, we have trained a lot of women. We have given over $84 million in loans to women.
$84 million?
Yes, in loans to women to support them grow their businesses. And for us, scaling is important, so they don't remain small. They can grow their businesses. And like I said, training, working with different partners to ensure that they are equipped. So that non-financial part that we give them, very key. So this is what we've been doing in the past.
Okay.
So this is 4 years ago.
Yeah.
We sat back as a business, as Charlotte said, and we looked at this impact and what businesses have been able to achieve in these 4 years. And we decided that we would not let it be just how it is, but we're going to make it more inclusive and expand. And therefore, we are relaunching. And so there's a new phase to Elevate by EcoBank where today it is bigger, better, and more inclusive. So we are bringing more women into the fold of Elevate. But of course, when we say women, we lead with that conversation, but we're looking at women-led businesses and businesses that are focused on women. So the business doesn't have to be a business owned by a woman. So the ownership conversation is important. If there's a business and 50% or more of that ownership belongs to a woman, then definitely that business is an Elevate business. You're also looking at business, the leadership and the management. So for instance, you can look at multimedia and say, do we have about 20% of the leadership and management as women? Then multimedia is an Elevate business if 20% or more of the leadership are women. The third group is businesses focused on women. So you could be a man, but you're producing beautiful kaba and slate apparel for women. You're an Elevate business.
And
so
that clarity is very important, because when you say women businesses, everyone thinks women-owned businesses. I like that.
And businesses focused on women as well. So all these categories of people belongs to the Elevate business. So when we say it's more inclusive, the businesses remain, but we're also looking at getting other people who were hitherto not part of the fold to be part of it so they can enjoy this.
And I mean, when you say you're relaunching, it means that you're exceeding your $84 million
Most
target.
Definitely. We are adding more.
Okay, so what's the relaunching going to look like? When is it happening? Is it open to the public, Charlotte?
Yes, it is. So on Friday, 7th March, at our head office, we are doing that starting at 10 a.m.
Okay.
I want to build on what is different. As Regina indicated, there are a number of areas. So any one of those criteria qualifies you. You don't need to have all.
Yeah.
And now the relaunch or the expanded version is to include individuals. Excuse me. So women who are running business and registered, so sole proprietors, are now in there, not just registered businesses as before.
Like my mother in Bukwas.
Absolutely, absolutely. And also for the women who are in executive roles, they've run business for years. You know, some of the top corporate executives, they are looking to impact, bring up the newer entrepreneurs and women starting out. So all this, right from an individual at the consumer level, as we call it internally, the commercial, the SMEs and so on that we've worked with all along, and the executives within our corporate and investment banking institutions. So it's the full range to make sure everyone is included.
It may sound like an obvious question, but I want you to reiterate why it's important that we help women businesses in this country. You talked about how it's not just limited to women-owned businesses, but businesses that are focused on providing goods and services to women as well. Why should we be propelling that agenda? Why is it important?
It is because you would notice by the stats that Charlotte shared that 1 in 3 women will have businesses. However, the same statistics also show that women lag behind when it comes to businesses. Accessing finance, there are so many things that make it almost impossible for this to happen. For instance, getting collaterals. In our side of the world, you know that the property would most likely be in the name of the man. And so if I have to approach my bank and say, I need this, it's a bit sensitive, it's difficult. If you are not careful and the man says no, it means that you cannot get what you're looking for to expand. Because of that, and given that we know that women would always have businesses and own businesses, we believe that it's important for us to, because it's an economic opportunity to ensure that we grow. And as EcoBank, as you know, for us, the economic development of Ghana and Africa is dear to our heart. So it's our way of living that purpose and ensuring that we continue to liberate economic freedom and independence, right? Tomorrow is independence, so that the Ghanaian and Africa at large will be economically independent. So we do that to support women because we know their unique challenges. So this is a program that answers all that. So to help women overcome those challenges of having access to finance. And now we're giving them unique propositions that doesn't just give them access to finance, but at interesting and competitive rates with collateral arrangement that can only be from EcoBank coming to the Elevate business. So
now,
those special details,
after hearing all that.
Those special details, if you want to know more, you have to join us on Friday to know those ones.
Is this tied in any way with International Women's Day? And that's 3 days, I think. Yeah, that's in 3 days. And the theme for this year is for all women and girls, rights, equality, empowerment. Is there anything you're doing to link your Elevate relaunching to International Women's Day?
Yes.
Tell us about it.
Which is why we thought that it's a good time to bring attention to what, as a bank, in our own way, we are contributing to that agenda. And at the end of the day, once we are able to impact people, we also carries on to others.
They say when you educate a woman,
you educate a nation.
Right.
So that really is why we've chosen this time. Again, the fact that beyond a structured business, there's a lot happening where they need support at a lower level.
Right.
So for us, it's a good time to come in again to take stock and then make it even better, bigger and better, as we mentioned earlier.
Yeah. You mentioned that it's not restricted, it's open to the public. So I want you to invite our audience yourselves. I'll give you each 30 seconds to invite our audience to join you when you relaunch Elevate. I'll start with you, Charlotte.
All right. So we just want you to know that EcoBank is here for you. We want you to join us on Friday to see the new, refreshed, expanded Elevate initiative. There's something in there for everyone, so please join us. After that, go to all our branches. We'll share more with you.
Okay. Regina, your turn now.
Right. So this is to say thank you to our customers for doing business with us and for always choosing to bank with EcoBank. We really appreciate you. Now, on Friday, as we accelerate inclusion, we are also making Elevate more included. So join us on our social media handles, our YouTube page at EcoBank Ghana PLC, on Facebook at EcoBank Ghana PLC. Then dial in, tune in, and see what's going to happen. It's our way of giving back to you and to ensure that we grow together and we'll give you a better way to bank that can only come from EcoBank. Thank you.
And that there is Regina Ofori, Head of Marketing and Brand. And we also had Charlotte Amankwa, Head of Commercial Banking. And this is on Elevate, a better way to bank for you and your business. And they're relaunching. Please do well to attend. It's on the 7th of March, 2025, starting at 10 a.m. sharp. And you can also join them on social media. The details are actually on your screens. Ladies, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having us.
And I wish you the very best.
Thank
All
you.
right, and there's still so much more coming your way on the AM show. We'll be right back. You're welcome back. Now let's talk about Affinity Ghana. They are a digital banking platform and they won the FinTech for Financial Inclusion Award after raising $8 million to expand services to underserved African communities, onboarding 50,000 plus customers since 2024 when it was launched. In studio with me to get the conversation going is Irene Donati. From Affinity Ghana. She's the Head of Marketing and Growth. Irene, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I love your name and the rings are doing you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Right. Well, let's start with how it feels to be awarded the FinTech Award for Financial Inclusion. How does the whole feeling like?
You know, there was many awards that were given the night to very established financial institution, banks that have been around for a very, very long time. And as you said, we launched our digital app only in 2024. Yeah. So we are young, but we're not entirely young because the company was established almost 10 years ago, but there was a whole process of getting the Bank of Ghana licensing for deposits, loans, and then the app and all the digital platforms. So we were kind of like still the small guys in the room. But what I found very rewarding about this award is that it's for financial inclusion, which is literally in our mission and vision of the company. And so it's almost like the recognition that we are doing something right.
Right.
And yeah.
If let's use the opportunity to introduce Affinity, Affinity Ghana to our audience. What exactly, I know you say you're digital banking platform, but what is it really about? What do you do at Affinity Ghana?
So Affinity is literally a digital bank.
What does that mean?
That we don't have physical branches. We have one, but everything happens on our app. So you just go to your App Store or Google Play Store, so Android or iOS, you download your app, and then you can open a bank account instantly just using your Ghana card and taking a selfie that will match your Ghana card picture, which means no queue at the bank. You don't have to leave your workplace to open an account. You are immediately
banked.
You're banked. You're banked. You're not unbanked anymore. So since we started, actually, most of our customers in percentage never had a bank account before. Because, you know, if you are in the market and you are at your shop or like you can't leave your shop, you will use mobile money, right?
And in fact, the requirements to even sometimes open a bank account in the traditional banks is so much. And these markets women prefer to just not go through the struggle.
But because now almost everybody has a Ghana card, and through technology, we've been able to basically connect with the National Identification System authorities so that when somebody sends a Ghana card screenshot, we are able to automatically verify that the data is correct. And then with the face recognition, we are able to actually verify that the person who's opening the bank account is a person on the Ghana card. Also, they register with the same phone number. So through technology, and that's the beauty of it, we've been able to create a very simple tool that can enhance people's life. And that's the meaning of financial inclusion, literally.
Hence the award, well deserved. And also you raised 8 million Ghana dollars, rather. And how will this, and you're calling the seed round funding, right? How will this impact the work that you're doing and your customers?
Okay, so obviously, Affinity, we have our Ghana office, and I'm very happy to work here, but Affinity has a plan as Affinity Africa to open in different countries. So this first round that was closed recently.
Why was it closed? If you care to share.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, end of 2024, but we just announced. So we literally announced in the last week. Our founder did an incredible, amazing job. Our founder is a Ghanaian, Tarek Mukani. He's born and raised in Ghana, and his dream was to create a financial institution that could actually serve like the majority of the Ghanaians who don't have literally the time to do all the things that they do when they have to do and fill paperwork in a bank. So this seed round is very, very important. First of all, because it's been a while since a Ghanaian startup got like this kind of funding. And it's also bringing back a bit of trust in the digital fintech world, because in the past there has been some instances in which even Bank of Ghana had to intervene because things were not done properly. So we are very proud that now we are established, we got this first round. This will make us grow in Ghana and then start thinking about expanding into other countries. And yeah, so we are again very proud. I'm not a Ghanaian, but I'm almost a Ghanaian after 11 years here. So I'm very, very happy for this, yes.
It's the same.
Yeah.
Ah, great. Right. So, I mean, just for clarity, you mentioned digital fintech, companies and technologies. How are you different? What are you doing differently from what we do with mobile money? And in fact, all the, networks have mobile money now. So how is that different from what you are doing?
Well, mobile money is obviously something that is extremely useful, and we are not here to replace mobile money, right? Because mobile money has a very specific function that is different from what you can do with a bank account. Because once you open a bank account with us, and all the bank accounts are free, there's no monthly fee, no charges, basically.
No charging for saving, no charging for anything at all.
No, I know it sounds impossible, but it's true. Because of our business model, because we don't have the cost of branches, we don't have the cost of brick and mortar, now we can say, okay, the accounts are free, and then obviously we lend, so our loans is where we kind of like build our business, right? But for what we were saying, what we're doing different is that, again, we have free bank account, free transactions. So when you move money from your account to any mobile money wallet or any other bank account, we don't charge you the usual 1% or 1.5% charges. And you can open also a savings account, an investment account directly in the app without having to do anything else. You just have to add some additional information to your first account opening, and you can open a savings account and you can open an investment account. So that's an enhancement compared to mobile money, right? But you will always use mobile money, I guess, in your everyday life for like the other type of transactions.
Yes, you're right. And let's talk about the future plans and what you want to do in terms of expansion and growth. Where can people sign up more, and how can they come aboard?
Okay, so our expansion is also very interesting to discuss, because we have also agents on the ground that are serving customers and for lack of a better word, educating customers who are not maybe so digitally savvy, but we are seeing customers more and more enjoying the app because it's very simple to use. So we are going to increase the number of agents on the ground, increase the technology and the quality of our products, but then possibly in the future also looking to other countries. So that's the expansion plan. If people want to find us, we are obviously on all social media. So Affinity Ghana and Affinity Africa is on all social media. You can dial the short code *229#, which will make you enter our world and get all the links that you need to download the app, or just go to the App Store and the iOS Store and find Affinity.
Because you're here, and I really like doing this, I like to give our guests, some time, 45 seconds or a minute, to speak directly to our audience, because you came here with a message. What is that message to our audience watching?
Where's my camera?
There you go.
There's one. Okay. 45 seconds. Interesting.
No pressure. Yeah.
I want really to say that to come and work for this company was a really great journey for me, and I would like people to believe that what we are doing at Affinity, we are all very committed in what we are doing, and that we are very transparent and very clear about everything that the products are offering. There's no hidden fees. There's nothing that we are trying to sell just for the sake of it. We really want to support small and medium businesses, micro enterprises, women in business. So that's why we are the FinTech for financial inclusion, because inclusion means to give access to as many people as possible to bank accounts, to finance, and to credit, because only if you give credit to small businesses, they are able to thrive, and that's very important.
Well, congratulations. That award looks so beautiful.
Thank you.
FinTech Award for Financial Inclusion. That is Affinity Ghana. And Irene Donati, thank you for coming.
Yes, you said my name so perfectly. Thank you.
Thank you. She's head of marketing and growth at Affinity Ghana, and they just won. That's the award you're seeing on your screens right there. They just won FinTech for Financial Inclusion at the Ghana FinTech Awards. Thank you for coming. And there's still so much more coming your way. It's not 10 yet. Stay with me. We'll be right back on the AM Show. And we're back on your screens. Let's talk about Agri Memorial, because they have their 85th Speech and Prize Giving Day coming up. But the 2000-year group will be celebrating their 25th anniversary. And in the studio with me to discuss this is Yofi Brew. He's the chairman of the planning committee. Yofi, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
What was the highlights of attending Agri Memorial for you?
I think a lot. When I first landed in Form 1, it was our 40th anniversary.
Oh.
The school was established in 1940. It was a significant milestone for me.
Okay.
And incidentally, I happened to be the staff bearer for the head prefect too. And
that must have been a very privileged position.
Just too much for me. It was overwhelming.
Right.
The funny aspect was that I was so diminutive such that instead of keeping up or leading the procession, I was always lagging behind.
Oh.
With my little kente cloth also being dragged along. But it was very fun.
Okay. I'm sure there's a value or there's some sort of unique selling proposition that everyone who went through Agri Memorial has.
Yeah.
Would you like to share that with us before we get into the speech day and the anniversary celebration?
Yeah.
What makes you stand out as Amosa?
Yes, Amosa is a unique place. In fact, it builds you up in terms of integrity and, being sportsmanly and all that. Yeah, because I remember the anthem that we were taught in school, had those lyrics, and they were more or less ingrained in us or implanted in us. So that was it.
So you went through the school and the school went through you.
I did.
Great. Now let's talk about the 85th Speech and Prize Giving Day coming up, as well as your 25th year anniversary. That is for the group, 2000-year group.
Exactly.
How are you marking this? What's the X factor? What's happening around all these celebrations?
Good. Agri has become one of the most popular schools in Ghana. And every now and again, we need to improve the learning environment. So one thing that the 2000-year group identified with the global group, was the project that they should pursue. And they identified improving the sanitation and sanitary conditions for the girls. The facilities are mainly based at the boys' end. So they actually put up this ultra-modern, restroom for the girls especially. When they come to the boys' end, they'll have a place, of comfort and all that. So that's what is happening. Besides that, in order to improve also the processing of food and all that, they've actually installed some milling machines to aid the kitchen side to, facilitate all these things for the school.
Okay.
That's a series of that. And this is just one of the phases. Almost every year group would do that, but this is what the
Your group, that is a 2000-year group.
I am of the 84 stock.
Oh.
I went to Form 1 in 1979, 1980. But I'm the chairman for the overall,
right. And most the whole 85th and
exactly.
25th for the 2000-year group. Wow.
Exactly.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I don't think I was born, but when you went to school. What is the theme for the 85th Speech and Prize Giving Day, not the 25th anniversary celebration?
Okay, so the 25th anniversary is actually subsumed in the 85th. So one theme runs across. So building on 85 years of quality education, the role of stakeholders. So that includes everybody who went to Agri from whichever walk of life, and then including the teachers and, the whole educational setup in the country, the stakeholders, the parents especially, these times. So that's the theme, actually.
Okay. So I'm sure there are some activities lined up. It won't be just a day. I mean, from experience on how these things are done. Can you walk us through these activities, when it's happening, where, and which ones we are invited to?
Okay. I think you are invited to all the activities. Yes. If you can cope. It starts from the 2nd. It started on the 2nd, it's a week-long one, 2nd to 9th, actually. But the highlights mainly are from the 6th, which happens to be a holiday. So the 2000-year group, tomorrow, that's right. The 2000-year group, who are the headline sponsors, they will be the advance party to go and prepare the grounds and all that. So more like a rival for them. And then they'll do a few activities. But then the main global arrival will be on the 7th. Okay, so all of us, every eagle from every angle lands there, because our symbol, our totem is an eagle, so that's it. So they land on the 7th. The 7th in the morning, Brafuiao, where our school is located, is actually on the precipice, Cape Coast, and then Asebu State. Asebu is actually the state of legends. Asebu Amenfi, that's where it came from, so that's where our grade is situated. So we are within that constituency. Abra Asebu Kwamankesi, that's where Agri is located. So Brafuiao is the land on which we occupy. It was acquired in 1958, and that's where the school is built. So 7th, they are holding a health screening day, which they call the Health is Wealth Day, by the 2000-year group. And then in the afternoon, when almost all the masses of Amosas,
the eagles have landed.
That's right. When they land, we'll converge at Mori Junction. That's the old barrier. And then we'll drive in a convoy, which we call to Amosa bumper to bumper, to the town, and then come back to the girls' end, then cross over to the boys' end to start the activities for registration and all that. In the evening will be a candlelight procession. Candlelight procession, from there we do a very beautiful bonfire night. And then we just assemble in front of the assembly hall, and
It's the way you're lighting up with excitement, just talking about the activities for me. Okay, you end it.
Good. And 8th.
Right.
In fact, on Friday, Bessa Simons, the president of Musica, is a member of Agri 1974. So he's actually organizing with a few people. They're organizing some live band with the school band, which is called the Eagles Band. And so they will be treating us in the evening, whilst we also have some refreshments and all that. Then the next day, which is the grand finale itself, is the speech day. The speech day proper, where we, reward and award outshining performance for teachers and staff. Then the evening would be the bites and boogie nights.
You boogie?
Yeah, man, we do that. We have to go back to the 80s and then show the newbies that, look, we were there before they were there.
That's it.
That's right. So that happens, that entertainment and live band.
Because you mentioned Mr. Simons, I'm curious, are there any other renowned persons that might be coming that we know of?
Okay, renowned persons that might be coming, our own old boys. They might not be known individually, but internationally, they all started around. Our guest speaker happens to be Dr. James K. Akins Jr. He's flying all the way from North America. Rutgers University Associate Professor. He's the one who's come to inspire the young ones with some speeches. The next day,
Oh, it doesn't end on Saturday,
that's a Sunday,
right?
We have to give thanks to God.
Yeah.
So Sunday is a Thanksgiving service and departure formalities. After that, you can do whatever you
I wish I could join you for the bonfire, but we do have to be wrapping up.
Thanks.
Just in case there are some eagles who are only hearing about this right now, what's your message to them? Sort of summon them to appear. Please, you have about 30 seconds to do that.
30 seconds. So to all members, every Okoro living everywhere, every eagle living everywhere, Saturday, 8th March, in fact, from 7th March, you all have to troop to Agri Memorial. Join the bumper to bumper and let's go through the activities and make this 85th milestone a very memorable and unforgettable one. Waset, Wapik, you celebrate.
Somebody call Kimpaluta because I pick it. Yo, Feed Brew, thank you so much for coming. He's the chairman of the planning committee for the 85th Speech and Prize Giving Day of Agri Memorial and Amosa 2000. It's the 25th anniversary celebrations, and it's all encapsulated into the 85th anniversary celebration. Thank you for coming, and I wish you the very best.
Good.
Right, before we go, let me tell you about SolarMate Ghana. You want to select a solar system from our various solar packages ranging from 30,000 cedis to 99,000 cedis. Now, all our solar systems come with lithium-ion batteries. So get a solar water heater, a solar home system, a solar power station, or a solar generator ranging from 1,000 watts to 20,000 watts. We also sell reverse osmosis machines for water treatment. So Google SolarMate Ghana to find us both on Facebook and on Instagram. SolarMate Ghana, you can call us on 050-832-0470. SolarMate is also located at Adrengano, East Legon. SolarMate, we go everywhere. And again, I want to tell you about Syntex Tank because Ghana, let's talk about water tanks. Do you know the secrets to real water storage? It's simple. If your tank doesn't have the tortoise on it, then it's not the correct tank. That's right. The tortoise tank, Syntex Tank, is the champion of water tanks. It is strong and durable and built to handle our Ghanaian weather. So whether rain or shine, Syntex Tank has got your back. So my people, go outside, check your tank. And if it doesn't have the tortoise on it, it's time to upgrade. Join the Syntex Tank family today and enjoy water storage that's tough like a tortoise. Call us 0244-335-168 to buy one or find one of our 400 agents nationwide. You can also shop online at syntexgh.com. Syntex Tank is strong, tough. Now, there are some dedications going out before we wrap up the show. Happy birthday to Francis K.D. Crenshaw, a.k.a. Osama, Supervisor of Lighting Department, Multimedia. May God bless you and make you great. This is coming from Adobia Asare. And there's also a message going out here to someone. Happy birthday. It's the same person, actually. Right. So you're celebrated, Mr. Francis K.D. Crenshaw. Happy birthday. And that's how we will be wrapping up the show this morning on the AM show. My name is Sweetie Abochi. I did this with Benjamin Akakpo. Please stay. Join News Desk is up next.